Secretary Theresa May will chair a meeting of the government's Emergency Cobra Committee to discuss Britain's response to the attack. David Cameron has offered France the help of Britain's intelligence agencies to investigate the killings. Routine surgery will continue to be cancelled at Bedford Hospital due to an unprecedented demand on the service. Health bosses say the number of emergency admissions have increased by 25% since Christmas. More from Sophie Solaria.
The majority of Christmas cases involved patients over the age of 80. The surge has resulted in the hospital having very limited space for new admissions from A&E. All routine surgery has now been postponed until further notice. However, David Cameron's denying that the NHS is in crisis and says while the system's facing unprecedented demands, it's coping.
Tesco is set to announce that it's cutting prices for hundreds of branded products. It follows similar cuts by Asda and Sainsbury's. The Hertfordshire-based supermarket group, which will reveal its performance over Christmas later this morning, has seen falling sales, profit warnings and accounting problems over the past year. Two drug companies have attacked the decision by a government fund to stop providing some of their cancer treatments to new NHS patients. One of the companies, Eisai, recently opened a new multi-million-pound manufacturing plant in Hatfield for a new cancer treatment. Gary Hendler is the president of their global cancer division.
We were given minutes to present our case to the panel and even less time to get the verdict. So we just think the whole process was totally unfair and unjust, and basically a knee-jerk reaction based on the Cancer Drug Fund overspend.
In sport, Luton resume League Two action this evening with a televised match at home to fellow promotion hopefuls Shrewsbury. New loan striker Jayden Stockley is set to make his debut, and Oldham are hoping to complete the signing of convicted rapist Ched Evans today. Owner Simon Corney says Evans has served his time. The weather: rain clearing this morning to leave sunny intervals and scattered heavy showers. Dry this afternoon, a maximum temperature 10 degrees Celsius, and you can get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. What are you doing in here?
Looking at this pen, it's really sticky on the end. Do you know why?
Yeah, I had to I had to clean it out.
Oh, I'll just...
Not the pen.
Oh.
I needed something long and...
I'll just bin that.
Thank you. Waste of a good pen. Morning, Kels.
Good morning, Iain.
What's she doing in here?
I'm not really sure.
I have news to impart, but we can do a song first.
OK. What song do you want to do?
The Kinks.
The Kinks?
No, I thought you were going to sing a song.
Oh, no.
Lots coming up on the show.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC
Here's
Radio.
The thing, though, while you're listening to the Kinks, I'm really getting into 80s Kinks. It's a very dangerous territory. The 80s were very unkind to a lot of 60s bands. I refer you to the majority of the Beach Boys output from the 1980s, although nothing is as bad, and maybe one day, the next time we have a bank holiday, we'll play this, nothing is as bad as the 12-minute disco song the Beach Boys did. It's got a monkey in it. It's got a monkey in it.
An actual monkey?
Mick Dolenz?
No, there's an actual monkey. There's a bit in it where they go to the bridge and you hear a monkey go... in it. It's 12 minutes.
No, ordinarily that would always make a song better, wouldn't it?
I love it, but imagine a 12-minute disco song by the Beach Boys in 1979, 2 years after disco had peaked. They got booed off stage playing it in New York. Anyway, I'm digressing. Why were we talking about that? 'Cause
80s Kinks.
Oh yeah, 80s. Anyway, we'll have some 80s Kinks. It's dangerous territory, but I'm charting a path that you can all follow. Anyway, while you're listening to this, apart from having a little boogie, go to facebook.com/BBC3CR, and there is a video that we have posted up there that's kind of pertinent to what we were talking about in the show. It's me and Justin walking through Luton holding hands. Have a look at that, have a listen to this, and then we'll talk about something else.
very best of chorus as to follow all the doubt and sadness. I know that better things are on the way. Here's hoping all the days ahead won't be as bitter as the ones behind you. Be an optimist instead, and somehow happiness will find you. Forget what happened yesterday. I know that better things are on the way. It's really good to see you rocking out and having fun, living like you've just begun, accepting life and what it brings. I hope tomorrow you find better things. I know tomorrow you'll find better things. Here's wishing you the bluest sky and hoping something better comes tomorrow. Hoping all the verses rhyme and the very best of choruses too. Follow all the doubt and sadness. I know that better things are on the way. I know you got a lot of good things happening up ahead. The past is gone, it's all been said. So here's to what the future brings. I know tomorrow you'll find better things. I know tomorrow you'll find better things. I hope tomorrow you'll find better things.
You have to tread carefully.
You'll find better things.
Maybe we will play that 12-minute Beach Boys song one day. It really is something to behold.
Can we just play the monkey bit?
Yeah, OK, I'll dig it out. We'll just play it. The monkey bit's brilliant. Anyway, Bedford Hospital, let's do some news, shall we? That's kind of what some people think we're here for. Bedford Hospital is still cancelling all routine surgery as it battles to deal with what bosses are calling unprecedented demand. Big part of the problem seems to be the number of frail elderly patients being admitted after Christmas. Oh, Catherine, you've got more detail. Tell us what we know.
Well, health bosses at Bedford Hospital say that the number of emergency admissions since Christmas has increased by 25%, and the majority of those cases involve very frail elderly patients over the age of 80. The surge has resulted in the hospital having very limited space for new admissions from A&E, and so all routine surgeries, you say, has been postponed until further notice, as well as a range of planned outpatient and diagnostic clinics. The hospital's done this to free up resources for those most in need, and you also know they've drafted in GPs to help with demand.
Stephen Conroy, the chief executive, regular on the show, what has he had to say about
this?
Well,
he is reminding the public that the hospital remains incredibly busy and has been saying that staff are continuing to focus their efforts on making sure they provide the best possible care to those who need it, but they need the support of local people by using their common sense and not coming into A&E unless it's a real emergency, although this begs the question, what is a real emergency and how do you recognise it when you're in it?
Stroke. Heart attack, broken finger.
Stuart Lloyd's an emergency consultant at Bedford Hospital, so it seems like he's the best placed man to be able to diagnose an emergency. He told us that A&E departments are there for people with life-threatening and emergency conditions such as heart attacks, strokes, breathing problems and serious accidents. This is a statement, a large number of patients who attend A&E with minor injuries and illnesses could be treated elsewhere, so we are urging people to consider other NHS services first, such as their pharmacy, local walk-in centre or GP. Doing so will help us to focus our attention on the most seriously ill patients. You kind of wonder whether your GP could sort out a broken finger.
Pharmacists also, they weren't very happy about this, were they? Because they're, with the greatest respect, they're scientists. They're not doctors.
And
Are they scientists?
The times I've taken my daughter, because this started with GP surgery, suggesting you go and consult a pharmacist first. The times I've taken my daughter in to see a pharmacist and said, could you have a look at this? They've always said, well, I think it might be that, but you're better off consulting your doctor. Yeah. People don't want to take the chance and take the responsibility for people.
And also, if I have a concern about my son and I don't... I'll probably go to A&E. If it's something that has just happened, I'll probably go to A&E because you don't want to take the risk. with kids. There's been clashes in the Commons over this. One of the papers today having a go at Ed Miliband for making this political. Well, there's an election coming up, and I guess it is political, isn't it?
Well, everything's becoming political. As you say, March is an important time. Bedford Hospital, of course, not alone in having problems in its A&E department this winter. More than a dozen hospitals across the country have now declared major incidents. Now, Bedford's treating it as an internal incident. It's not quite up to the scale of a major incident in response to the demand on accident and emergency departments. Political row, of course, as you say, has erupted about who's to blame, somewhat inevitably. Labour wants an emergency meeting, but ministers have accused the party of playing politics. Now, Ed Miliband said cuts to services and the government's management of the NHS are to blame.
He's not apologising to patients, he's blaming the patients. And the pressures on A&E are not just happening on his watch, but are a direct result of the decisions he's taken.
However, David Cameron's denied the NHS is in crisis and said while the system is facing unprecedented demand, it is coping.
08459 455 555.
Hi there, nice to be with you. Happy you could stick around. Like to introduce Legs Larry Smith, drums. And Sam Spoon's rhythm pole. And Vern Dudley Bohay Knoll, bass guitar. And Neil Innes, piano. Come in, Rodney Slater, alto saxophone. With Roger Ruskin Spear on tenor sax. Hi, Vivian Stanchel, trumpet. Big hello to Big John Wayne, xylophone. And Robert Morley, guitar. Billy Butlin, spoons. And looking very relaxed, Adolf Hitler on vibes. Nice. Princess Anne on sousaphone. Introducing Liberace clarinet. With Garner Ted Armstrong on vocals. Lord Snooty and his pals tap dancing. In the groove with Harold Wilson violin. And Franklin McCormack on harmonica. Over there, Eric Clapton, ukulele. Hi, Eric. On my left, Sir Kenneth Park, bass sax. Great honor, sir. And specially flown in for us, a Sessions Gorilla on Vox Humana. Nice to see Incredible Shrinking Man on euphonium. Drop out with Peter Scott on duck call. Hearing from you later, Casanova on horn. Yeah, digging General de Gaulle on accordion. Really wild, General. Thank you, sir. Roy Rogers on trigger. Tune in Wild Man of Borneo on bongos. Count Basie Orchestra on triangle. Thank you. Great to hear the Rollinsons on trombone. Back from his recent operation, Dan Drop, hot. And representing the Flower People, Quasimodo on bells. Wonderful to hear Brainiac on banjo. We welcome Baldunicans himself. Very appealing, Max Jaffa. That's nice, Max. What a team, Zebra Kid and Horace Batchelor on percussion. And a great favorite and a wonderful performer, all of us here, J. Arthur Rank on gong.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Having a look at the speed sensors in Roxton, it's looking quite quiet at the moment on the A1 Great North Road around the Black Hat roundabout. That could cause problems later on though with the roadworks there. In High Wycombe on Marlow Hill, there's roadworks in place at Marlow Road, so that could get busy later on. But again, it's moving fine at the moment. Having a look at the cameras on the motorways, things moving generally very well on the M1, but the M40 is looking a little bit wet this morning, so take care with surface spray and visibility. And on the train, southern services are suspended between Milton Keynes Central and Shepherd's Bush. That's for emergency engineering works at Watford Junction. Tickets are being accepted on London Midland and London Underground services, but if you're using the London Overground today, there are severe delays between Wilston Junction and Clapham Junction. Samantha Breath, BBC Three Counties Radio.
6:16 or thereabouts. It's Thursday, the 8th of January. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. French police hunting the gunmen who killed 12 people in yesterday's attack in Paris say one of the 3 suspects has surrendered to officers. Routine surgery will continue to be cancelled at Bedford Hospital due to an unprecedented demand on the service. And Hertfordshire-based supermarket Tesco will reveal its Christmas sales figures this morning.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
And I, for one, can't wait.
Inside Out returns for the new year. We discover the link between road accidents and the streetlight switch-off. Helping others after being forced into an abusive marriage. We meet the Luton woman who was trained as a lawyer to help stop forced marriages. And we reveal how the only Roman circus ever discovered in Britain has been saved by the people of Colchester. The stories that matter where we live. That's Inside Out with me, David Whiteley. Monday, 7:30 on BBC One.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Johnny
So, Dilly, we know you got beef with avocados.
Yeah, big beef.
I mean, just explain this to me.
Well, avocados? Well, if you're going to have avocados for lunch or something like that...
If you're going to avocado...
Yeah, if you're going to have an avocado for lunch... Or in the evening, no problem with that. But I'm sorry, but real men do not eat that nonsense for breakfast.
I've not started yet. I need to start because I'm getting fatty.
I'm pleased to hear that.
But
You're not fat.
Sorry?
You're not fat.
I might bring in an avocado tomorrow.
Ask people to watch our video on Facebook and ask them the honest question: are you fat? You're not fat.
Well, that's not what they're
fat.
That's not what they're watching the video for. And I'm wearing a lot of coats, so you can't really see. 2 coats.
Okay.
For a healthier heart, Justin, eat an avocado a day.
Great advice, which I'm going to ignore.
Sorry.
Well, an apple a day may keep the doctor away, but it's a daily avocado we need to lower bad cholesterol.
Thanks, but no thanks.
A whole one? Can you eat a whole one a day?
Yeah.
I can manage a half, probably.
Oh, well, I'll have the other half.
They're rich, aren't they?
I'll have the other half with a bit of mayonnaise on.
All right, I'll go after... Oh, I'm not in tomorrow.
The so-called avocado diet was also found to improve other blood fat levels linked to heart disease. Justin, this is going to be great. Why can't you have an avocado for breakfast?
I'm not interested because I'm a geezer, that's why. And men don't do that sort of thing.
Do you know what I love? Avocado, right, with a bit of mango.
Yeah. What?
Prawns.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Don't like the prawns.
No, I've never had a prawn. I'm never going to have one.
How do you know you don't like them?
Because they look horrible.
Yeah, they do look
They've got their own faeces inside them. You want me to eat prawn faeces? That's a fact, Just. That is a fact.
Sometimes they drain that out.
08459 455
It's only sand anyway.
And Justin mentioned a video of us. We after we spoke to Nick yesterday, who'd suffered homophobic abuse, we conducted a little experiment on the back of one of Catherine's suggestions. You and I walked through Luton holding hands.
We did. I think the results are coming up a bit later on the programme as well. Let's just say it was an interesting 10 minutes, and that's all it was, of course. The experiment was only 10 minutes. Had we been there all day, I think it could have been even worse.
I think we may have fallen in love, but it was very, very uncomfortable. There's a video of it, facebook.com/BBC3CR. We'll have a little look at it later on. But before that, Justin, Tesco.
Yeah, I know you're excited.
I'm very excited. Their accounting troubles could add up to a better deal for customers later this morning. The Hertfordshire-based chain is set to announce its Christmas performance figures and is expected to announce it's following Asda and Sainsbury's examples by slashing prices on hundreds of branded products. In fact, there's... where is it? It's the Telegraph, I think. It's full of adverts saying how cheap their stuff is today.
Yeah.
Every other page in the Telegraph is an advert saying how cheap their stuff is.
They've reduced something like 4,000 items.
What's going on, Just?
Well, last year the chief exec Dave Lewis, he took over Tesco's because their figures weren't doing very well at all. Do you know what his nickname is, by the way? Dave Lewis's nickname.
Is he the Slasher?
No, he's not the Slasher.
That was a genuine guess, is he not? What is he?
His nickname is Drastic Dave, after he streamlined Unilever. So this morning's results, which are due out at 7 o'clock this morning, again, not expected to be great for Tesco. Drastic Dave has already warned shareholders that he's willing to take short-term pain for long-term gain. Now, some experts, they say that they're trying to be too many things, providing banking, also selling food, drink, clothes, and even places where you can get online printing done. So there are suggestions from experts that they may go back to a slightly more focused outlook with traditional supermarkets, which of course is what they're known for.
OK, so what if the figures are bad, which let's be honest, they probably are. Tesco's having a rubbish time. How will we notice the difference, Justin? If we go to Tesco's, what's going to be different for us?
Well, their share prices were the worst in their history last year, so we know things are bad. What we could see, the larger hypermarket type stores, they could become smaller, so there could be more emphasis on, let's just say, the Tesco Express convenience stores. But I've got to say, boss, whenever I've been into either a large Tesco store or one of these Tesco Express stores, they're always absolutely packed. So I can't quite get my head round why they're doing so badly.
Is it? I was going to ask. Is it because the general public have changed their shopping habits?
Quite possibly. I mean, a lot of people now will wait for the deals. You mentioned some of those adverts in the papers this morning. A lot of people will wait for a deal and go to that supermarket to buy things cheaper. So this morning, Tesco have announced again on the day of these figures that are coming out that a number of the branded products, they're going to be reduced. So people and their shopping habits, they are changing. What I've done, I've actually managed to...
Every other page on the Telegraph today is a Tesco advert.
Yeah, because we know, looking at it from a PR perspective, we know today their figures are going to be bad.
Yeah.
They're due out at 7 o'clock this morning. They're trying to get people to go back into their stores on the day where these figures are going to be bad. So what I've done, I've spoken to people, a couple of brief examples here. These are people who used to use Tesco on a regular basis. They now don't. I've been asking why. Here's what they had to say. David, you're somebody who used to shop at Tesco every single week. You now don't. So, as a consumer, what are Tesco doing wrong?
They're doing wrong by selling rotten stuff. You go there and you don't get any satisfaction. I went there once for white cabbage, had to go back there 5 times.
So the stock is poor, it's not good enough?
It's not good enough, no.
Would you ever go back?
Never. I think that anybody goes there, they must be stupid.
I just think that they've lied within themselves because it's too expensive. So they shop at the small two, shall we call them, for the moment. The big four, people think, are too expensive.
He's boycotting Tesco because he couldn't get white cabbage? Gosh.
Once I believed that when love came to me, it would come with rockets, bells, and poetry. But with me and you, it just started quietly and grew. And believe it or not, now there's something groovy and good about whatever we got. And it's getting better, growing stronger, warm and wilder, getting better every day, better every day. I don't feel all turned on and starry-eyed. I just feel a sweet contentment deep inside. Holding you at night just seems kind of natural and right. And it's not hard to see that it isn't half of what it's gonna turn out to be. 'Cause it's getting better, growing stronger, warm and wilder, getting better every day, better every day. And I don't mind waiting. I don't mind waiting, 'cause no matter how long it takes, the two of us know that it's getting better, growing stronger, warm and wilder, getting better every day, better every day, getting better every day. It's getting better every day, getting better every day. It's getting better every day.
Travel news for beds, cards, and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the train, southern services are suspended between Milton Keynes Central and Shepherd's Bush. That's because of emergency engineering works at Watford Junction. Tickets are being accepted on London Midland services though and London Underground services. But if you're planning to use the London Overground instead, there are severe delays between Wilson Junction and Clapham Junction. That's because of a signal failure earlier on. On East Midlands trains, there are possible 5-minute delays between Bedford and Luton because of emergency engineering works. And having a look at the roads on the speed sensors in Roxton on the A1 Great North Road, there are the roadworks around the Black Cat roundabouts. It's looking fine at the moment but could get busy later on. And in Beaconsfield on Amersham Road, there are some temporary lights that have been put in place at Bratchall's Lane for roadworks. And taking a look at the cameras on the M25, that's all moving well, and the M40 is looking fine but a little bit wet, so take extra care because of surface spray. Samantha Breath, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 6:30. I'm Simon Oxley. French police hunting the gunman who killed 12 people in yesterday's attack in Paris say one of the 3 suspects has surrendered to officers. Here, the Home Secretary Theresa May will chair a meeting of the government's Emergency Cobra Committee to discuss Britain's response to the attack. Routine surgery will continue to be cancelled at Bedford Hospital due to an unprecedented demand on the service. Health bosses say the number of emergency admissions have increased by 25% since Christmas. And Tesco is set to announce that it's cutting prices for hundreds of branded products. The Hertfordshire-based supermarket group will reveal its performance over Christmas later this morning.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Luton resume League 2 action this evening at home to fellow promotion hopeful Shrewsbury. It's 5th versus 3rd at Kenilworth Road in front of the television cameras. Luton should welcome back Steve McNulty, Scott Griffiths and Nathan Doyle, who all missed the cup defeat at Cambridge, with new loan striker Jayden Stockley set to make his debut.
Very excited. I'm looking forward to the challenge of playing for such a big club. First and foremost is to help this team do well and continue their good form. And hopefully with that will come goals and good performances. And I've got family from Luton, so I know what a big club it is. They've obviously given me the prep talk before I come here that not to let them down. So that's something that I won't do, and I'll give my all for this club.
And there's full commentary on Luton versus Shrewsbury in tonight's Three Counties Sport from 7. Oldham could complete the signing of convicted rapist Ched Evans today, despite a backlash from some sponsors and a 60,000-strong petition. Former England international Danny Mills says Evans could face some resistance in the dressing room initially, but it won't last long.
Trouble is, with football, it becomes very, very selfish at times. And if Ched Evans goes into that dressing room, starts to score the odd goals, rightly or wrongly, whatever you think should happen, what will happen is those players in that dressing room will forget about everything off the pitch if he's doing the business on the pitch.
And Wycombe striker Aaron Holloway has signed an extension to his contract, keeping him at Adams Park until the end of the season. And Stuart Lewis has left the club to join Conference South side Ebbsfleet. BBC Three Counties News and Sport. The next full bulletin is at 7.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, it's all kicking off in France.
Well, it has.
Yes, it's all kicked off in France. I tell you what. I tell you one of the things I found interesting about the coverage, particularly the first couple of hours yesterday of the situation in Paris was. Don't so many news outlets feel the need to fill when there's nothing to say? Why do they have to? I was listening to LBC, and they had lots of people on who were just guessing. And were coming on and saying we think this may be an Islamic attack because they were shouting Allah Akbar. What was it?
Yeah.
The president has said it's a terrorist attack, and we think there are 11 people dead. Next guest saying exactly the same thing, and they just felt the need to keep on filling it with that.
It's sort of rolling news, though, isn't it? You kind of have to keep it going until something happens, and in the hope that there is some sort of progression.
And I think it's to the detriment of news. I mean, if something happens, then cut to it immediately, of course, and stick with it as long as you need to. But they did. I must admit, I fell asleep, but I heard about 2 or 3 hours where that was all they were talking about, with nothing extra to add.
It can feel a little bit like people looking out the window with their mouths wide open.
Yeah. Maybe you. I mean, they have the news every half an hour on that station. I'm singling them out just because I was listening to them. I think it's an excellent radio station. Maybe you do every 15 minutes. You do a bulletin. This is the latest, just in case you missed it. No development. Next.
Yeah.
It was just odd, and obviously it's the front page of the newspapers, as it should be. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be such a huge news story. It's massive and it's terrifying and it's terrible. It's just, I guess it's more. You're right. The concept of rolling news with Sky. We don't have BBC News 24 in the news. Do we have a news channel?
The news channel,
We still have that, do we? It's a waste of money. There's that whole concept of we've got rolling news, so we have to fill it with something.
The assumption being that that's what people want, and they want to be able to access it at all time at their convenience.
The number of times, when you don't now, because you've got it on your phone, the number of times you and I are sat in the lobby of the hotel over the road having a coffee, and they've got on News 24 or Sky, and it will say, breaking news, exclusive. And it's the most trivial of stories. You should just have news when there's news.
But that's the way it goes. They put that in as a sort of holding thing until something develops, in the hope that something develops almost. It sounds awful like that, but that's the way news works.
£200 million I can save the BBC. Get rid of EastEnders, get rid of the news channel. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm saving your licence fee. Anyway, that's the big story of the day.
It's inside the papers too, and they're bringing it home to us as well. The Daily Express, page 5, Britain on full alert. British police were on full alert for a Paris-style attack last night as Britons travelling to France were warned to be on their guard. The thing is about this, you cannot be on your guard. The whole point is you cannot... They are attacking soft targets.
Yeah.
You can't live like that, and if you do, you're playing into their hands. David Cameron condemned the barbaric shootings as he prepared for a full intelligence briefing. Prime Minister said the murders in Paris are sickening. We stand with the French people in the fight against terror and defending the freedom of the press.
I will defend the freedom of the press up to a limit, and that limit is when someone's pointing a gun in my face, and then I will shut up and...
But you want your other journalists to be brave?
Well, isn't it... I can't think of anything apart from my two boys that I would die for. Nothing. I wouldn't die for freedom of speech. I wouldn't die for the right to print a... And again, I'm not justifying it in any way.
I don't think those people... Well, actually, they did, because they've been warned about it before, and that office has been firebombed in the past for cartoons that they've drawn there. Yeah. Cartoons that they've drawn there.
But cartoons that they knew, and again, I've got to emphasise this, because people will hear particularly after the boxing nonsense yesterday, I was getting attacked on Twitter for something I hadn't said. Can I just stress, what happened is awful and it should not have happened, and you shouldn't be shot for saying or thinking or printing whatever you want. But they knew that would get people who are already angry even angrier. They knew that those cartoons would get violent people angry. Now,
But being offended does not, of course, doesn't give you the right to take a shotgun into an office where people have pens.
And they should be allowed to print those cartoons, of course. But if I'd been firebombed, if I'd been threatened with firebombs, I think, do you know what? I go, yeah, I'm probably going to stop doing those cartoons now, I think. And it means that the terrorists have won, but pick your battles. I hope that some of you will think that sounds terribly dismissive of what happened yesterday, and it's not meant to be, and you're not listening if that's what you think. But 08459 455 555. Anything else in the papers? Not a lot.
Well, apparently that Big Brother thing started last night. I'm not going to bother watching it.
I'm not being paid to watch it, so I'm not that bothered.
Off the wall, £100 painting is sold for £70,000 in a bidding frenzy.
Oh, yeah, bidding frenzy.
I mean, I don't know why you would buy this in the first place, but well done to the person who bought it for £100. I can imagine trying to justify spending £100 on that and being ridiculed. But well done. They're laughing on the other side of their bank accounts that are fuller. Is that the saying? A family is celebrating a windfall after an unremarkable painting valued at £100 cost the buyer a whopping £70,000. The painted porcelain plaque depicting a man in a house amid a snowy Chinese landscape was discovered hanging on the walls of the home of the vendor's late father in a routine valuation. Bought in Nanking, China in 1986, where the owner's father was working there. On his return, he hung the painting along with others in Cobham, Surrey, and they remained there until his recent death. Auctioneers, what do they know? Valued the piece at between £100 to £200 because it dated from the 20th century.
If you've ever watched Flog It, you know they know very, very little.
Well, there you go.
I hate
70,000.
I hate paintings. My criteria when I get art is... have you got any art? Yeah, what are you after? Something about this big? Go by size. Go by size. Always go by size. It's got to fill this much wall.
The only painting I've got was given to me by someone else. I can't decide on a painting. Like forever.
Someone gave me a print that's limited and it's worth a few £100 apparently, and I'm thinking, I'd rather have had the cash, to be honest. I mean, you've... all right, it's an investment, is it? Yeah, OK. Speaking of art and sizes... Taxi ad driving women crazy. As adverts go, it's certainly eye-catching, but a taxi company has been branded sexist for releasing the above poster. West Key Cars in Southampton said the image of an overweight woman with the caption, "If I start to look sexy, book a taxi,"
Oh, wow.
was designed to stop people drink driving over Christmas instead of sleeping with mingers. Sorry, instead taking a cab. But here we go. The University of Southampton Feminist Society...
There's the clue.
...deemed it disgusting and has called for a boycott of the company.
The thing that deflates the argument somewhat is that there is a male version of it where he is dressed in kind of...
Medallion Man style.
...unflattering clothing, and it's the same sort of message.
There's a big lady... She's...
Can you imagine, though? Oh, Mary's got a job modelling. You're joking.
Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan. Chaka Khan, let me rock it, Chaka Khan. Let me rock it, that's all I wanna do. Chaka Khan, let me rock it, Chaka Khan. Let me rock it, got a feel for you. Chaka Khan, what you tell me what you wanna do? Do you feel for me the way I feel for you? Chaka Khan, let me tell you what I wanna do. I wanna love you, wanna hug you, wanna squeeze you too. So let me take it in my arms, let me feel you with my charm, Chaka. Cause you know that I'm the one to keep you warm, Chaka. I make it more than just a physical dream. I wanna rock you, Chaka, baby, cause you make me wanna scream. Let me rock it, rock it.
Is it about a gap year?
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the train, southern services are suspended between Milton Keynes Central and Shepherd's Bush because of emergency engineering works at Watford Junction. Tickets are being accepted on London Midland services and on London Underground services, though. And the London Overground now has just minor delays between Wilston Junction and Clapham Junction after a signal failure earlier on. On East Midlands trains through Bedford and Luton, there are emergency engineering works going on that could cause 5-minute delays. And having a look at the roads on the speed sensors in Milton Keynes, the A421 Standing Way is moving fine through the roadworks at the Kingston roundabout at the moment, but expect delays later on. In Little Kings Hill on the A413, there's roadworks in place at London Road, so that could cause some delays. And having a look at the cameras on the motorways, no major problems showing up at the moment. It's all moving very well so far. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
6:46, it's Thursday the 8th of January. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. French police hunting the gunmen who killed 12 people in yesterday's attack in Paris say one of the 3 suspects has surrendered to officers. Routine surgery will continue to be cancelled at Bedford Hospital due to an unprecedented demand on the service. And Hertfordshire-based supermarket Tesco will reveal its Christmas sales figures this morning. Let's get the weather. Here's Georgina.
Beds, Herts and bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. Well, it's a mild start to the day. We're already peaking in those temperatures at about 10 or 11 degrees Celsius. They're actually going to be dropping off as we head into the afternoon, getting closer to 7 or 8. We've also got some rain that's lingering from the night, and that's going to gradually move off to the east. So by about lunchtime, we're seeing the back of that, and hopefully some sunny spells for the afternoon. Now, the winds ease during the day, but they're going to be picking up again tonight. So a pretty blustery night ahead of us. Cloud increases and some more rain pushes through in the early hours of the morning, but it's moving pretty quickly because of that wind, so we should see the back of it before the morning. Temperatures down to about 5 degrees Celsius, and so sunny spells tomorrow to start off the day. Still pretty breezy, and then we've got some patchy rain coming through in the afternoon, and we're entering a pretty mild period then, so temperatures even getting up to about 12 degrees Celsius. A wet and windy night on Friday night, so another windy day on Saturday. A cloudy, drizzly start, but brightening up later on, and then sunny spells for Sunday, although some spots will be slightly cloudier than others, and we're still holding on to that breeze and a wet and windy day on Monday. That's your latest forecast.
Every weekday from 12.
We're talking to Alice Jones about her journey, which has landed her in the arms of Youthscape.
When I was 5, my dad left our family. It's your first inclination to go, oh, I must have done something naughty.
Nick Coffer.
I was in a really vulnerable place. The people at Youthscape, it is literally their job to show you that they love you and care about you and whatever you're going through.
Every day my job's a privilege, but every once in a while it's an even bigger privilege because I get to meet people like you.
Nick Coffer on BBC Three Counties Radio. Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
How do we do that? That trail? No, that trail has given me a great idea. Okay, because we're often, particularly for TV programs, it was a really interesting story, really interesting guest that Nick had, and there was some very dramatic music. And if you are watching a documentary or you're watching even The X Factor, and someone says they're doing this for their mum who died of cancer,
Coldplay kicks in. You know they're going to get through as well when Coldplay kicks in. It leads to an uproarious.
So you get the music, you get it in films, the music that kind of sums up the mood. You used to get it in cinemas with silent films. You get a real live organist, and they still do this at some films, and I've never been. I'd love to go. A real live organist where if there's a car chase, and if it's a sad bit, play sad music, right? We get someone in live to play the music while we do an interview with someone. Now, that's all I've got.
It risks sounding somewhat tactless.
It does. It really, really does. And you'd have to find your way around. We'd have to find our way around that to do it. But
we do need our own musical score, though, on the show.
Yeah, we do. We all need our own theme tunes. Anyway, 08459 455 555. I'm feeling creative and alive because I went to see the pantomime last night.
The pantomime?
The pantomime.
You say you went to see it?
It was pretty much just me went to see it. The theatre was empty.
Oh.
Thereater holds, I'm going to say, 600. There were 80 of us. It was awkwado.
It changes the dynamic somewhat, doesn't it?
For a pantomime, the pressure was on for me to get involved noise-wise. There were 2 drunk girls at the front. Thank God they were there, because there would have been nothing. It was so... And I tell you what was weird, OK, because you got the stalls, and then we were in the royal stalls, which are the ones seats up and back, OK, so they're a bit cheaper. But the stalls were empty, apart from a dozen people. What they should have done...
is move everyone up.
Should have moved should have got everyone either sat down there or everyone should have been sat together and squeezed in. That's what you do in the comedy club. Come on, everybody, move forward. Let's all sit together. Should have moved us all forward.
Because then the audience feels braver, you get more interaction.
Yeah, there was none of that. It's a good pantomime, and the boy loved it. The reason the boy loved it? There was a character in there called Willie.
Boom.
Could not believe it. Couldn't believe it. And it was a good pantomime, but I felt sorry for the performers because they were having to work extra hard. Even the lady from the 3 Degrees.
Sheila Ferguson, what a voice. And I'll be honest, what a rack. She was really wearing a very tight bustier. Rydian was played by someone else last night. Oh, was he?
Yeah, Rydian was played by somebody else. That was disappointing.
Do you think that's why there was no one else there? Rydian's not... Oh, I'm going home.
And also, Rydian would have been playing the Beast, so he would have worn a mask for 98% of the show, which, again, is another bonus.
Don't you think he looks a bit like Jonathan? Jonathan Vernon
Yes,
Smith?
I do. He looks like...
he looks like standard German from the war films.
Ladies and gentlemen, what was the word I was trying to look for standard German? Aryan.
Yes.
He looks like an Aryan JVS. So, overall, good casting, some great set pieces. I would say a really good pantomime.
Oh, no, you wouldn't.
Kels.
Yes.
BBC introducing, because we're doing Vinyl Fridays on Fridays, I've got some great records to bring in tomorrow. You're not coming, Shane?
No.
I've got some great records to bring in tomorrow. We're shifting the BBC introducing track from Fridays to Thursdays. I'd forgotten. You'd remembered.
Yes.
Who we got? Stephen Rhodes!
His name is Rhodes.
Stephen Rhodes. Has he shortened it to Rhodes?
No,
How modern. It's like when Puff Daddy became P. Diddy. Or I'm old enough to remember when Jennifer Lopez became J-Lo.
Yes.
I remember that.
And I remember thinking, what's she done that for?
Yeah. Well, boy, oh boy, were we wrong, Catherine.
It was the way forward.
Jenny from the block knew exactly what she was doing. And Stephen Rhodes has caught on. What has what has Rhodes got for us?
This is his new song. It's called The Lakes. He's from Hitchin. He's doing very well.
He's from here, from the old days.
Yes. Here it is.
We've gone, no matter how far we've come, too frightened to carry on. But imagine those deep blue skies waiting on. No matter what time it takes, we'll run away to the lakes, and summer will find us there waiting. We can see through the shadows with light to be where we belong. We can be safe in our own little place where the skyline kisses the shore. We will go on, we will go on and on. We feel alive in the waters we dive as the night fire warms our bones. We will go on, we will go on and on. My love, there's nothing else we can do. And as the light fades in you, the stars will come out and guide us there. We can see through the shadows with light to be where we belong. We can be safe in our own little place where the skyline kisses the shore. We will go on, we will go on and on.
This is Stephen Rhodes, former BBC presenter here at BBC Three Counties Radio. He's now turned to making music, Kels, and that is he's not happy, is he? I'm picking up he's not happy from that vibe.
Do you know what I'd suggest?
Yeah.
He needs to get involved with something like a 2 for Tuesday, cheer himself up, treat himself.
A youth club. Get himself in a steady relationship, because that would they wouldn't tolerate that.
You shouldn't be feeling like that when you're that young. Cut the cord.
It's a good song. It's well done. Great performances. Good verses.
Some
overall,
nice set pieces.
I'd say it's a thoroughly enjoyable song.
Good. I'm glad. Stephen Rhodes will be very happy.
And if we want to find out more about Stephen Rhodes, I guess we just go to Wikipedia or the old days.
RHODES.
Yep.
And you can type that in on Facebook and Twitter, and all the information on him will come up.
Excellent stuff. You all right, Kath?
Yeah.
Justin.
Got a question about that song.
Yeah.
Did Stephen Rhodes write that about Nadine Dorries?
Whoa, step away. OK, Justin.
So here's the story we've got for you, Justin.
Yes.
It is this ad. Have you seen this ad? You won't. It's in a newspaper. It's a picture of a larger woman kind of seductively licking the tip of her finger.
Yeah.
And it says, if I start to look sexy, book a taxi.
What?
Yeah, it's an advert for not drinking too much.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could you take it to... come in and get the paper. It's in the mail. Come in and take it to the streets, and we want to know, is it fattest or funny?
I think from what you just described there, I think I would say fattest.
Have a look
I've not
first.
seen it first, yeah. Exactly.
And bear in mind that there is a male version of it with a sort of medallion man type saying, if you start fancying this, you should get a taxi. So,
Love a medallion.
Oh, I know you do.
Justin, we'll speak to you later.
Cheers.
Ta-ra. Well, that's cleverly sidestepped. 08459 455 555. We've got a minute, Catherine, if there's anything that you've spotted. I tell you what, go.
Kitchen gadgets. You were talking about avocados earlier on.
Oh, yeah,
I did contemplate buying that avocado lid we saw in the paper.
Isn't avo or ava? Avocado lid. How does that work?
It's instead of using your cling film, which often leads to blackening of your avocado, you stick a lid on it.
What do you mean, actually? So it's avocado shaped?
Yeah, it goes over the stone.
Oh, hang on, but you don't put it over the flesh?
No, because the flesh is its own sealant, isn't it? It's like a lid for your avocado.
Hang on a second, you're having a laugh. Why would you put the lid over the stone of the avocado?
The stone and the soft exposed flesh, which is what's going to go off if you...
Hang on a second, yeah, but the flesh is... But you don't put a lid over the flesh?
Yeah. But it fits over the, it's got a little hole for the stone.
Oh,
like
I see.
Sort of,
those stones... An avocado bra. Those stones are made of actual granite, aren't they?
I think so, yeah.
Incredible.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the train, southern services between Milton Keynes Central and Shepherd's Bush are suspended because of emergency engineering works at Watford Junction, but tickets are being accepted on London Midland and London Underground services. If you're using the London Overground, that has minor delays between Willesden Junction and Clapham Junction because of a signal failure earlier, and East Midlands trains have possible 5-minute delays between Bedford and Luton, and that's because of emergency engineering works. On the motorways on the A1M southbound, it's looking very busy now between junction 3 for St Albans and 2 for Welham Green, and it's starting to get quite busy on the M25 as well. Anti-clockwise between junction 21 for the M1 and 15 for the M4, looking at the cameras. On the A1 southbound, that's looking quite busy between the Holiday Inn junction and Barnet Lane at Stirling Corner. Samantha Braff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Samantha, would you promise me one thing?
What is it?
Promise you'll never tame that wild, untamable spirit.
Oh, well, I
Promise me.
I promise?
Thank you. Although the actual making of the promise was in some ways a taming.
Yeah.
You see?
Disappointing.
Yeah, very disappointing.
She should have told you to get knotted.
Yeah, in her own unique, controversial way. Coming up...
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 7 o'clock. I'm Simon Oxley. The headlines: hunt continues for Paris gunmen. Still no routine surgery at Bedford Hospital. And Hertfordshire Company's anger at cancer drug decision.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
French police hunting the gunman who killed 12 people in yesterday's attack in Paris say one of the 3 suspects has surrendered to officers. Here, the Home Secretary, Theresa May, will chair a meeting of the government's Emergency Cobra Committee to discuss Britain's response to the attack. From Paris, here's Lucy Williamson.
The targets of this manhunt are now 2 brothers, Saeed and Sherif Kouachi, both French citizens in their early 30s. Police say another man, 18-year-old Hamid Mourad, has handed himself in, reportedly after seeing his name on social media. An operation in the eastern city of Reims overnight ended without any arrests. 12 people were killed in the attack on Charlie Hebdo yesterday when men with assault rifles stormed the office in central Paris. Large rallies were held across France to express solidarity with the men and women President Hollande described as heroes who died for freedom.
Routine surgery will continue to be cancelled at Bedford Hospital due to an unprecedented demand on the service. Health bosses say the number of emergency admissions have increased by 25% since Christmas. More from Sophie Solaria.
The majority of Christmas cases involved patients over the age of 80. The surge has resulted in the hospital having very limited space for new admissions from A&E. All routine surgery has now been postponed until further notice. However, David Cameron's denying that the NHS is in crisis and says while the system's facing unprecedented demands, it's coping.
Tesco is set to announce that it's cutting prices for hundreds of branded products. It follows similar cuts by Asda and Sainsbury's, the Hertfordshire-based supermarket group, which will reveal its performance over Christmas this morning, has seen falling sales, profit warnings and accounting problems over the past year. 2 drug companies have attacked the decision by a government fund to stop providing some of their cancer treatments to new NHS patients. One of the companies, ASI, recently opened a new multi-million-pound manufacturing plant in Hatfield for a new cancer treatment. Gary Hendler is the president of their global cancer division.
We were given minutes to present our case to the panel and even less time to get the verdict. So we just think the whole process was totally unfair and unjust, and basically a knee-jerk reaction based on the Cancer Drug Fund overspend.
In sport, Luton resume League 2 action this evening with a televised match at home to fellow promotion hopeful Shrewsbury. New loan striker Jayden Stockley is set to make his debut, and Oldham are hoping to complete the signing of convicted rapist Ched Evans today, despite a backlash from some sponsors and a 60,000-strong petition. The weather: rain clearing this morning to leave sunny intervals and some scattered heavy showers. Dry this afternoon, a maximum temperature 10 degrees Celsius. And you can get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
Morning, Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Lots to talk about in the show this morning. Hospitals, Tesco's, and find out what happened when Justin and I went for a little walk through Luton yesterday, holding hands. If you want to see the video of it, facebook.com/BBC3CR. And if you want to give us a call, 08459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Willie?
Yes.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
What are you doing?
I'm just updating your Tesco story.
Have we got the figures in?
No.
Oh. In what way are you updating? What's the update?
That they're definitely going to slash prices.
I'm
glad I've written that down, though.
Thanks.
Because I might forget it in the next 10
They're going to
minutes.
slash prices. Chris is on the line. Morning, Chris.
Morning, Ian.
What you got for us?
Yeah, no, just coming back on what you said about these Islamic thugs, these terrorist people. I actually think to actually look the other way. I know where we're coming from, but I actually think you've got to really sort of deal with this head on. I mean, obviously, as an individual pointing the gun at you, you're probably going to say anything. But I think as a society, we've got to come down on them like a ton of bricks. You know, they're a cancer. and it's not good for any of us. It's not good for if you've got children. What sort of world will they inherit? There's all sorts of thugs. The mafia, they were the same. You just have to. You can't. It's tempting sometimes to look the other way if you're in a very difficult situation. But if you do, they have won, and it will slide in their favour.
We're talking about the situation in France. I don't know if looking the other way is the right phrase, because I'm not that bothered about anti-religious cartoons that I think anyone should die for it.
Of course they shouldn't. I mean, we had the same thing, didn't we? But we didn't have any violence with The Last Temptation of Christ, The Life of Brian, the Christians.
Jerry Springer the musical, of course.
Exactly. Well, we didn't have any of that from the Christians, and they're just as passionate about their religion.
No, we didn't have any gun violence, but they got very verbal about it, didn't they?
Well, yeah, I know, but that's freedom of speech. You're allowed to, once you start.
No, I think they were threatening. And someone will know better than me. The Jerry Springer the musical, co-written by Stuart Lee, he was getting threatened, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to get that. Come on, I mean, you get that on Facebook.
Hang on a minute. So we'll let people make threats.
No, threats not. No, that's not acceptable either. You're not when it actually comes to threats, that type of intimidation.
But this isn't just a Muslim problem.
Well, it is in this case. Well,
it isn't. No, I say it and I qualify it. Anders Breivik, anybody? He was a right-wing Christian.
Well, no, he didn't kill him in the name of Christianity.
Yes, he did. Anders Breivik, the fella that blew up loads of buildings in Norway, so he could go, I think it was Norway, so he could go and shoot a load of kids on an island. He was doing that as a right-wing Christian.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'll have to differ with you. But the point being is this: it happens all over the world. Wherever you see it, you see Islam at the centre of it. I'm not blaming Islam.
Then okay. So what are we supposed to do then?
Well, you've got to challenge it head on. What you've got to do.
And what does that mean?
Well, you've got to engage the peaceful Muslims. Let them. It's them that are suffering.
It wasn't yesterday, was it?
It's their freedoms that are eroding since 9/11 and 7/7. Right, since 9/11 and 7/7, around Europe, around the west of the planet. What you've got now that we have screening. So Islamic women walk through screens, and yet people see what they look like beneath their clothing, and it's stuff they have to walk through.
Yeah, but we have to walk. No, but we walk through screens. Everyone's suffering a result.
Yeah, but that doesn't bother me. That might other people. People are questioning Muslims. They're questioning their dress code. They're questioning their mosques. They're questioning their schools.
But do you know what I'm bored of, Chris?
Yeah.
Every time there's an incident like this, I'm bored of people will phone up and say, well, why aren't normal Muslims coming out and speaking out against it? And then you can't switch on the telly or the radio without, in inverted commas, normal Muslims saying, well, yeah, of course we think this behaviour is awful. I'm bored of Muslims coming out and saying they think this behaviour is awful because we know that the majority of them think it's awful.
Of course, but you won't solve it without their community. You need their community. You actually need their community, and I'm afraid too many of them do look the other way. I'm not saying, I
don't know what you mean by look the other way.
Well, let me put it this way. 3 months ago on the BBC Parliamentary Channel, the Select Committee were interviewing government ministers, educational chiefs and others alike, and the police, and what they asked, they said, asking about the problems within mosques and schools. They said there's problems within mosques and schools of promoting intolerance and extreme violence. There's 20 schools and as many mosques have been identified in Birmingham. 5 of which.
Well, it's not
about Trojan horse.
Yeah, it's not 20 schools, but it was 4 schools.
No, 20 schools.
Well, no, it's a story I know quite well. There were 4 schools.
Maybe
5.
No, yeah. You could before. There's 20 schools that have been identified, ranging from intolerance. 5, as you rightly say, 5 of which have been extreme. Within their assemblies, if you want to call them assemblies, they've been chanting, down with the Jews, down with the Christians.
Chris, I'm going to stop you there, mate, because that actually isn't true. It's a story I know quite well. They were not chanting down with the Jews, down with the Christians in assembly. That is a myth. It's a myth I'd never heard before, but that's simply not true. So I'm going to stop you there, Chris, because you started off all right and then went off on a tangent. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. Let me just do this.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Right, here we go. Bradford Hospital's problems, dealing with what bosses call an unprecedented demand, are being exacerbated by old people. Frail, elderly patients post-Christmas. Routine operations are still being cancelled, and GPs have been drafted in to deal with a 25% increase in admissions, the majority of which are people over 80. Well, joined as ever by Colette McKeveney, Director of Age Concern Luton. Morning, Colette.
Morning, Ian.
So, does this surprise you?
No, not really. I mean, the majority of people with really bad health conditions tend to be older, and they tend to be very frail, and they find it more hard to actually cope with some of the problems they've got physically.
We're all living longer, aren't we? That's the thing. This surely can only be a problem that will grow.
Well, assuming we all continue to live longer, I mean, there are sort of various factors here that sort of people aren't thinking about sometimes. At the moment, we've got a lot of people who are old and frail, and there's a lot of reasons for it. There's much more health education now. People are trying to take better care of themselves, and, perhaps in the future, we will have a generation of older people that are less frail. However, the human body is not designed to go on forever. Certainly as we are getting older, we will get things wrong with this. And nowadays, with the advances in medicine, people are living with, really complicated health conditions that would have carried us off in the past.
With when we get news lines like this, Colette, do you think that something like this might scare some older people into not going to A&E?
Absolutely. And you know what? It makes me mad, Ian. You'd think people were going there for a holiday. You'd think they were going there because they've got nothing better to do with themselves. People are going to hospital for one reason, and that's because they're really ill. They're too ill to be nursed in the community, generally speaking, and that's why they're going. They're not going for fun. But there are various factors. For example, if you live in a nursing home and you have a fall or something, the procedure might be to take you there, even though you're okay, because you have to be checked over. Yeah. So there are perhaps things that we can do for some folk. Think about, well, okay, is that strictly necessary? Do we need to take them? But if they need to be in hospital, if they need to go to A&E, then we need to make sure there's enough capacity to take care of them.
Do you know what, Colette? You're right. You're one of the few voices that I've heard in all of this furore that's going on recently that is, instead of trying to turn people away from A&E, we should just be chucking more money at A&E, shouldn't we? Giving it a bigger capacity.
Do you know what? There's two things. Obviously, there are folk, apparently, that are inappropriately using A&E. They're turning up, with a cut finger or whatever else. Now, if people are turning up inappropriately, they need to get with it and say, well, actually, do I really need to be down there when there's seriously ill people who can't get help? Where should I be going? Should I go to the pharmacist? Do I need to go to the GP? Do I need to be at A&E? So that's number one, no inappropriate use of it. It's there for emergencies. Number two, I think, is that, if you are at A&E and you have got a situation, could you have been at the GP's? Could you have got an appointment? And it may be that you couldn't get access because your surgery, it's 3 days, 5 days or whatever. And if you're in really worried about your health at that time, you're not going to wait 3-5 days, especially if it's a child or somebody who's frail or someone in a nursing home. You're not going to leave it that long because you're going to be worried about it. So can you get access to a GP's appointment? Before we start blaming people, I think, for going to A&E if they're ill, we need to be saying, have they got alternatives and are they using them? Now, if they then pitch up at A&E completely inappropriately, absolutely fine. Tell them you shouldn't be here, send them on the way. However, make sure that there is an alternative for them is my first point. And secondly, if you are old and frail and sick, how can we talk about people? These are human beings. These are people's parents and people's grandparents. People do not choose to be sick. They do not choose to be disabled. This myth out there that somehow or other, all these people who just delight in wasting NHS resources, get a life. Who are these people? I haven't met any. There might well be some folk who are a bit, over anxious about their health, but generally speaking, they have a reason to be. Maybe they've got some complicated condition that they're anxious about managing. Let's look at it a bit more intelligently and think, okay, if this person's got COPD, how do we help them to understand what to do when the symptoms come? But if you've got a serious and life-threatening condition, it might well be that, you actually manage that, 400 days of, 24 hours a day, 300 days a year.
You forgot how many days there were in a year then, Colette?
Do you know what? I've added a few because I feel I need them.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But 300 days of the year, maybe they manage that condition well. 65 days of that year, maybe they're quite frightened about it. What do we do in those days when they are worried about it,
Colette, it's really good to talk to you, and as I would say, even more direct speaking than usual. And you know what? One of the first people we've had this conversation with who said, well, why are we having a go at the people who are going to A&E?
It's true, but it's also made me think, have you ever been to A&E in the last sort of 5-6 years?
Yep.
You have to get past the guard.
Yeah.
The triage nurse will tell you whether you're staying or going, so I don't understand why there's so many people cluttering it up.
And I don't... you can never always tell what people are there for, but the few times I've been to A&E, I've not seen anybody there nursing a paper cut.
No.
You know, or with a badly cut toenail. You see people who've got blood coming out of their head, or people who look flipping awful. I mean, the last few times I've been to A&E, it's been with the kids, and paediatric A&E is a completely different experience. They get you in and out pretty sharpish. By pretty sharpish, I mean I don't think we've waited more than an hour. We've normally been seen pretty immediately, and they've assessed it, and then we've gone in. But do you know what we're saying? All this stuff about people with paper cuts and stuff. I don't know if that's actually true.
If you've been recently, give us a shout.
08459 455 555.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's starting to get quite busy on the motorways. The A1M southbound's quite busy from junction 3 for St Albans to 2 for Welham Green. And looking at the M25 anti-clockwise, that's looking quite slow from junction 21 for the M1 to 15 for the M4. In North Watford, checking the speed sensors, are looking slow on North Western Avenue around the Dome roundabout. On the A1 southbound, it's looking heavy in Borehamwood between the Holiday Inn and the Stirling Corner. And in Markgate, the A5 southbound, that's building up between Lynch Hill and the M1 junction 9 for Redbourne. On the trains, East Midlands services are running fine again between Bedford and Luton after the delays earlier on, and Southern services have a normal service again between Milton Keynes Central and Shepherd's Bush after the emergency engineering works at Watford Junction have been completed. But on the London Overground, there are still minor delays between Wilston Junction and Clapham Junction. Samantha Braff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. Don't forget, go to facebook.com/BBC3CR. Justin and I conducted an experiment in Luton yesterday. You can watch it and we'll talk about it before 8. But right now it's 7:17. It's Thursday, the 8th of January. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Tesco is shutting its head office in Chesham next year and will move its base to Welwyn Garden City. The company is also shutting 43 unprofitable stores. French police, hunting the gunmen who killed 12 people in yesterday's attack in Paris, say one of the 3 suspects has surrendered to officers. And routine surgery will continue to be cancelled at Bedford Hospital due to an unprecedented demand on the service.
BBC Three Counties Radio. If you've missed any of the programmes here on BBC Three Counties Radio, you've missed things like this.
But we're happy to celebrate Elstridge's past. People don't realise, they just simply do not know the output that's come from this little town in Hertfordshire.
But there is a way you can hear it all again.
People used to walk along the high street, famous people such as Sophia Loren and Elizabeth Taylor.
bbc.co.uk/Three Counties Radio, allowing you to listen to what you missed.
The biggest Hollywood names, they've all fallen in love with it.
There was always different stars coming in and out.
When I first got there, I wanted to see the soundstage where we were to construct one of our largest sets, which was the Well of the Souls.
bbc.co.uk/Three Counties Radio.
Tesco has announced it's cutting prices for hundreds of branded products following similar moves by rivals Asda and Sainsbury's. The Hertfordshire-based chain will reveal its Christmas figures later this morning. But it may have a tough time winning back public trust. Keith Slater is a retail expert. Keith, we kind of saw this coming, didn't we, with the rise of Aldi and Lidl's and with Tesco, and I think we can legally say being dodgepots who cooked their books to a certain extent by about, £250 million. The faith in Tesco is at an all-time low, isn't it?
Yes, but they are still our biggest supermarket chain. £1 in every 7 that we spend on groceries is spent there, and it's as big as its 2 nearest rivals put together. So whilst we are disillusioned and people have been moving away, have been going into Aldi and into not just those particular supermarkets, but into all the 99p stores and the pound stretcher stores to buy their groceries, yes, they've been struggling.
Because where Aldi and Lidl and those kind of stores are winning now is that they've won the middle class over. I would say 18 months, 2 years ago, middle class people wouldn't be seen dead in those stores. But now there is no stigma, is there?
Absolutely not. And people have realised that they do have some good quality products and some very, very good prices. And you're not confused when you go in there by all these 3 for 2 offers and things where you've got to try and work out, is this a better offer or is that a better offer? Because they have straightforward prices, just discounted, and they stay at that price.
Tesco as well. I know it's very popular. I guess because of that, there's a lot of hatred for Tesco. I have several friends who make a point of boycotting a store like that.
Yes. It's funny that the supermarkets do create this kind of intense feeling, though that seems to be changing very much in people's shopping habits. It always was that if you went to one supermarket, you always shopped at that supermarket and you shopped there for everything that they sold rather than shopping around. But now, particularly with the rise of the convenience store chains, people tend to be a bit more discerning and they'll buy this from one store. They might buy their meat at Lidl, but they might buy their vegetables in Morrison's.
So we're changing as shoppers, but have Tesco done anything wrong?
I think they stopped listening to their customers some time ago. They got distracted by developing new things. They've developed strongly in America. They've developed strongly in the Far East. Though the American business has now been sold off, and there is talk that they might sell off their business in Thailand. And they went into other things like restaurants and coffee shops and video streaming. And maybe they just took their eyes off the ball a little bit, which often happens with people who are the prime retailer in any particular sector.
What do they need to do, Keith?
They need to listen to their customers, and they need to know much more about what their customers are doing. They know very well their own internal customers because they have this dunnhumby division that does a lot of data analysis.
They have a what, sorry?
dunnhumby. It's a subsidiary of Tesco that actually runs their club card and analyses all the data that comes out of that. So they're very, very knowledgeable about people who shop in their stores. They need to know more about the people who don't shop in their stores and how they're going to attract them back. They're obviously going through this price cutting because that's very, very important in people. They're going to close some stores, from what I understand, maybe around 40 around the country, and they're going to sell off some of these other divisions that stop them being focused on looking at their customers.
Keith, it's fascinating. I look forward to speaking to you again. Retail expert Keith Slater. We will get the figures. I think they come out about 8 o'clock. The figures for Tesco. I always say, Catherine, I always shop. But shopping is dictated by which shop is nearest.
Yeah. Although if I want meat, I go to a certain supermarket.
There is a big Tesco near me. Within driving distance.
Yeah.
There's a Tesco Express that's nearer me that's open later and open at weekends and on bank holidays. So those are the two I tend to go to. When I'm in town, I'm generally near a Waitrose, so I'll pop in there. And if I'm feeling flush, I'll pop into M&S and buy a bit.
But if you've got the whole afternoon ahead of you and you're going to be cooking something special, you'll be more choosy, won't you? But who has that? I mean, you get that once a week if you're lucky.
My wife goes to Waitrose. Snob. I choose the nearest store to me, and for me it's Tesco, and I'm not bothered.
I prefer Waitrose's meat, I'm going to say that.
No, and
on the way home, though, I'll call in a Co-op. Co-op's upped its game recently. Yeah. When I was a kid, Co-op was where my gran used to go for a tinned ham. Do you know what I mean? And you think, it's very old-fashioned. It's not anymore.
Peter.
Hi.
Was it you that was banging on about the ambience?
Yeah.
You
do understand what the word means, don't you?
Well, explain it to us, in case I've got it wrong.
Well, it means the atmosphere.
Yeah. So you like a supermarket with a happy atmosphere?
Absolutely.
Music everywhere?
No.
Soon we'll be dancing in the cool night air?
No, just general cheerfulness, really.
And remind us which store for you has the best ambience.
I believe Asda does.
Yeah.
There you go. But then, it's a matter of choice, really.
Yeah.
I do find some of the stores. I mean, if you're talking about these Aldi and Lidls, well, the throughput through there, the number of people, it's minimal compared to some of the other big ones like Asda and Tesco's. I've been in them. I don't buy much in there, but I've been in them, and there's not much footfall going through.
Yeah. Peter, that's not what you've called in to have a whinge about,
No,
though, is it?
I want to talk about the good parts and the bad parts of the NHS.
Where you go, boss?
Well, the bad part is, according to yesterday's Mail, 4,600 beds were closed in the National Health Service since 2011.
Okay.
Now, the good part of it is there's no bed blocking. It's because these idiots have shut the beds, they've shut A&Es, and they're in overload, just like Finsbury Park Station was when they shut King's Cross.
Yeah.
So it's nothing to do with the staff. The staff being overloaded, and soon you'll have people dropping out because they're not well. They really work hard.
I tell you what, the thing I don't like about supermarkets, and I think this is where the problem was, and this started about 10 years ago, right? Because I used to work in a supermarket, and we were never told to do this. They're always told to have conversations with the customer. Scripted conversation number 7. Good morning, sir. How are you? Having a good day? I see you've got the kids with... Don't talk to me.
No,
unless there is a spontaneous, genuine thing about me that you want to have a chat with, then I don't want to know.
I once stood in a supermarket queue, Peter, and the woman had exactly the same conversation about her split ends with everyone. I mean, that was very specific conversation and not relevant to the purchase. I mean, with everyone, and she sounded like a robot.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have good conversations with the checkout ladies, actually.
Bet you do. Yeah.
No, good
fun. We've heard about you, Peter.
My mother-in-law was a checkout lady and got told off for gabbing.
You have to make them laugh, because if you make them laugh, they treat you very well in the checkout.
I can't think of anything more desperate than an old man trying to make a young woman laugh, Peter.
And I turn round to her and I say, you're going to get all happy customers from now on. Because I do get some miserable ones.
Just try and get rid of
Do you know why I talk to the checkout staff? So they don't go as fast when I'm trying to pack my bag. Because sometimes it's a race, isn't it? I get very flustered.
Oh, well, you see, being a smiling older gentleman, they pack my bag for me.
That's why they're taking so much time, Peter, because we're stuck behind you.
He wanted to talk about NHS anyway.
Oh, yeah, Peter.
Yeah?
You wanted to talk about the NHS, didn't you?
Yes.
You got 30 seconds.
Well, I've been talking about it already, but
you're talking about supermarkets.
No, I did say, when you're talking about the A&E departments...
Yes.
You've got to remember that 4,600 beds have been shut in hospitals.
Yep.
And when you go to an A&E, the elderly are not bed blocking. It's because these idiots have shut the beds.
Yep.
And because every A&E now is in total overload because they shut too many A&Es.
OK, Peter, I've got to move on. Thank you. And thank you, Kath, for...
You get the gist.
Yes. Biggers!
Hey, me old Sue, me old Charlie, me old Bean. How you doing?
Hello, love. What you got for us?
I'm just wondering, does Mr. Daly, does he ever actually do any work?
It's an excellent question. Continue.
Well, I've just driven past the back of your studio.
Yeah.
I've seen a very dodgy character in a dark overcoat, lighting up a fag. That's not working, is it?
he makes... Can you see him from where you are, Kath?
I can't at the moment, but I know what his argument would be. That's where he formulates all his best plans.
He knows all... Catherine's looking at the security cameras, but he knows the blind spot.
He does.
He's got it sussed out. Well, because I do hope that when you... And while I don't condone any form of bad language or aggression on the streets, I do hope that the next time you drive past him, you beep your horn and flick the V's at him.
Well, it was me the last time in Emily.
Biggers, thank you very much. We'll get him to justify that a little bit. Justification. There's a feature.
Justification.
Sorry, Kelly.
Justify.
Oh.
Justify your love.
That was Justin Timberlake's album, wasn't it? Justified.
Yeah.
See what he did?
Sure, why not?
It was good.
It was quite good. I like that one.
Album.
Some of his later work was a little bit...
Yeah,
I wish he'd bring Sexy back.
He did.
08459 455 555. Interesting email from someone about the situation in Paris. I shall read that after this.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Heading into High Wycombe on Valley Road, that's looking quite slow on the speed sensors southbound from Criers Hill towards Hamilton Road on the speed sensors, and in Markyate on the A5 southbound, that's also looking very busy between Lynch Hill and the M1 Junction 9 for Redbourne. On the A1 southbound, it's very busy between the Holiday Inn and Barnet Lane at Stirling Corner. And having a look at the motorways, the A1M southbound, that's looking very busy between Junction 3 for St Albans and 2 for Welham Green. And checking the speed sensors on the M25, anti-clockwise is looking quite slow between Junction 21 for the M1 and 15 for the M4. On the trains, it's looking a lot better. East Midlands trains are running fine between Bedford and Luton, and Southern services are moving fine again between Milton Keynes Central and Shepherd's Bush. But on the London Overground, if you're using that today, there are minor delays between Wilston Junction and Clapham Junction after a signal failure earlier on. Samantha Breath, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 7:30. I'm Simon Oxley. Tesco is shutting its head office in Cheshunt next year and will move its base to Welwyn Garden City. The company is also shutting 43 unprofitable stores. Tesco has this morning announced a 2.9% drop in sales in the 19 weeks to January the 3rd. Meanwhile, Marks & Spencer has reported a fall in sales of 5.8% in the 13 weeks to December the 27th. French police hunting the gunman who killed 12 people in yesterday's attack in Paris say one of the 3 suspects has surrendered to officers. The French Prime Minister says both remaining suspects had been known to the intelligence services. And routine surgery will continue to be cancelled at Bedford Hospital. Health bosses say the number of emergency admissions have increased by 25% since Christmas.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Luton resume League 2 action this evening at home to fellow promotion hopeful Shrewsbury. It's 5th versus 3rd at Kenilworth Road in front of the television cameras. Luton should welcome back Steve McNulty, Scott Griffiths and Nathan Doyle, who all missed the cup defeat at Cambridge, with new lone striker Jayden Stockley set to make his debut. Here's manager John Still.
It isn't just the goals that he can bring, it's the goals he can help other people score by how he plays, how he holds the ball up and his movement. We actually spoke about him at the start of this season, and we decided no, he went to Cambridge, but we decided no earlier in this season, because by and large we sort of looked like we'd be okay. But he was one of 2 players that we've sort of highlighted to try and bring in.
And there's full commentary on Luton versus Shrewsbury in tonight's Three Counties Sport from 7. Oldham could complete the signing of convicted rapist Ched Evans today, despite a backlash from some sponsors and a 60,000-strong petition. The former England international Danny Mills says Evans could face some resistance in the dressing room initially, but it won't last long.
Trouble is, with football, it becomes very, very selfish at times. And if Ched Evans goes into that dressing room, starts to score the odd goals, rightly or wrongly, whatever you think should happen, what will happen is those players in that dressing room will forget about everything off the pitch if he's doing the business on the pitch.
And Wycombe striker Aaron Holloway has signed an extension to his contract, keeping him at Adams Park until the end of the season. And Stuart Lewis has left the club to join Conference South side Ebbsfleet. BBC Three Counties News and Sports. The next full bulletin is at 8.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
OK, coming up, what happened when Justin and I walked through Luton yesterday holding hands. The big story of the day, and we're not really covering it specifically on this show because, well, I don't know what to say. It's the shootings in Paris yesterday, where I think it's now being pretty much agreed that it was Islamic terrorists went and shot a load of people who worked what sounds like an awful magazine. Doesn't sound like my cup of tea at all. But went and murdered 12 people there, including a couple of police officers as well, and people are seriously injured. It's terrible, terrible story. It got us talking about Rolling News and about how Rolling News feels the need to fill everything, and also got us talking about I can't think of anything apart from my 2 boys that I would die for. There is nothing I believe in strongly enough. I don't believe in doing rubbish cartoons about Mohammed strongly enough, or the right to do that, to want to take a bullet.
I don't think anyone in that office for a moment thought that was really going to happen.
They'd been firebombed, they'd been threatened, they'd had police protection.
The empty office had been firebombed and their equipment had been damaged, but at that point personnel hadn't been targeted. No, but they did have a police guard at the time, didn't they?
Wasn't there a fella, a cartoonist, a Dutch cartoonist about 10 years ago, that got murdered for a similar thing? They must have known.
How many other satirical cartoonists are out there?
Yeah,
we do need them. We do need to poke fun at things that people feel nervous about talking about, don't we?
With the rise of ISIS and with France being such a hotbed of extremism on both sides, there's a real tension there. I've been led to believe that we don't even have in this country. They must have known that they were putting their necks on the line. It's an inappropriate phrase, but they must have known that they were genuinely at risk. They must have known.
But that is a defiant magazine, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, I have to stress this because after the boxing debate yesterday, where I was getting so much abuse from idiots on Twitter hearing what they wanted to hear, I'm not in any way justifying this. I think this is atrocious, and of course you should be allowed to print and say what you want. I think. Let's put that out there. I think that's what I think. But I just think if someone pointed a gun at me and said, stop doing cartoons about Mohammed, I'd go, yeah, OK. Yeah, I'll stop. Yeah. I'll stop. Anyway, 08459 455 555. We've got an email from Steve.
Go on.
It's quite long, but bear with me. I was saying to a caller that one thing I'm bored of in these situations is leaders of the Muslim community being hauled out on TV and radio stations saying, well, just want to say that members of the moderate Muslim community, we abhor this kind of violence and this isn't Islam. I'm bored of that. We all know that.
Well, you hope most people know that, but we hear the contrary all the time.
Steve wants more.
Really?
Iain, if later this morning you speak to any representative of a local Islamic organisation, get them to go further than just condemning what happened. The usual claim from the Islamic community is that terrorists and those who support extreme views are not Muslims. That's fine, but if that really is the case, then they must be apostates. We're getting into the world of semantics here. I've yet to hear any Muslim label Islamists with what is only the appropriate label. Islamists are either apostates or Muslims. Now, I had to look up the word apostate to know what it meant, because I wasn't completely sure.
It's like a heretic, isn't it?
Well, there are two. The noun is a person who renounces a religious or political belief or principle, or the adjective is abandoning a religious or political belief or principle.
But I have heard Muslims saying that these people are not Muslims.
No. Steve doesn't want that. Oh. That's not going far enough. Steve wants them to come out and use the word apostate. Steve, we're arguing in semantics, mate. Islamists are either apostates or Muslims. There's no middle ground. Please speak with a local imam. If he's not willing to publicly state these murderers are apostates, then he's part of the problem.
Oh.
If he's not prepared to make this distinction live on air, what chance is there that he'll tackle extremist views when he encounters them in a mosque or within the local community? Of course, once the judgment of apostasy has been made, Islamic countries have various processes in place, ranging from re-education through to brainwashing and stoning. A local imam would be ideally placed to propose which would be most appropriate. Regards, Steve, I think you're... I don't quite know what your point is. We're arguing semantics. I am more than happy for members of the Islamic community to say that these people are not Muslims. That's enough for me. I think you're being pedantic for the sake of wanting to stir up a little argument and a little confrontation. There's no need to. And there's no need...
Well,
hey, Muslims...
It goes further than that. We're talking about, the end of that would be violence.
Yeah. Hey, Muslims, and guess what? There's no need for you to come on this show, certainly, and decry... No, hang on, what's the word? Decry. There's no need for you to come on this show and say that those people aren't Muslims. Well, I know that. Most intelligent people know that they're dealing with... They're not representative. These idiots yesterday in France, they're not representative of Islam. So no one needs to come on this show and say, as a Muslim, I'm horrified by these things. You want to come on and say, as a human being, I'm horrified by these things. That's great. That's groovy. That's fine. I'm assuming that most of my listeners, the majority of my listeners, are intelligent to know that's the case anyway. And anyone who doesn't know that, well, go and listen to Heart. Here endeth the rant.
If you'd like to contribute to the rant, 08459 455 555.
That's the telephone number if you want to give support. Have we got any texts or anything before I crack on?
Well, yeah.
Well, let me do about poo water.
Snuffers has been in touch about the avocado lid.
Oh, yeah.
He says call it an avobrado.
I like it.
Hey, we gave Snuffers that nickname, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. There is a lady Snuffers out there. We're not.
She's gone a bit quiet, hasn't she?
Yeah, I hope she's all right.
Oh, well. So... I was at there's pantomime last night, and they do a thing where they get the kids up on stage. Didn't pick my kid.
They never pick your kid.
No, and he's always heartbroken.
There's always kids. I wonder whether those kids are real.
These kids are real. These kids were real.
Because they're always very, very close to the stage, as if they know it's going to happen.
These ones weren't. because no one was close to the stage. I saw them get.
I bet that was awkward then, wasn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, so this kid, and there were 4 of them. 3 of them really, really young. I'm going to say 5. And one of them was like about 9, and that was embarrassing for everybody. And he said to the 9-year-old, Willie said to the 9-year-old, what'd you get for Christmas? Right. And the kid said the weirdest thing.
Oh.
Right? One of the kids said a cute, weird thing, and he's like, I don't know what that is. But the kid said, so what did you get for Christmas? Technology.
Oh.
You little stuck-up little... And he went, what does that mean? I got a brand of games console. All right, son, you're
not the BBC. Say what it is.
It was a PS Vita, it turned out.
Oh.
But what kind of life is that child having? What did you get for Christmas? Technology? Flipping heck.
Did you have a good time? Yes, we had a celebration.
Anyway, the reason I'm talking about technology is because that blooming Bill Gates, he's been drinking poo water.
No, he's not,
He's
is he?
drinking poo water.
With all his money, he can drink better than that.
Billionaire Bill Gates went viral yesterday. I bet he did after drinking poo water. You don't know what's in it.
By the way, if you're listening at home, don't try that.
Poo's in it.
Yesterday, after being filmed drinking a glass of water made from human poo.
What did he do that for? No.
Well, just someone else's.
He's rich enough to not have to drink his own. What?
Bill, 59 years old, declared it was, quotes, as good as anything I've drunk from a bottle.
What did he do that for?
For a dare. Someone dared him $1 billion. That's why he's so rich. It's not through computers anymore. It's through
Daft Bets.
Through Daft Bets.
He's like the
Daft Bets with Bill Gates.
That's my dad.
He's the geeky version of your men on that thing. What's it called?
Great comparison.
What are they called?
The 3 men and a lady.
No, those ones that do the daft things and set electrodes to their nipples and that.
Top Gears.
No.
Jackass.
Them.
Jackass.
Whatever.
Yeah, don't be rude.
The co-founder of there's a good point to this. This is why I'm hesitating. No, let's just leave it there. He drank poo water yesterday.
No, go on. But
the co-founder of Microsoft tried out a processing system that converts waste to water in minutes. Called the Omni Processor, it was built by Janaki Industries near Seattle, Washington, and is backed by the Gates Foundation. It will be piloted in Senegal.
It can't be good for you, though.
No, that's the point. He's proving that it's safe, and if he will drink it, then it's good enough for everyone else.
Hey, there's a story in the Mail. Bill Gates died yesterday of a stomach bug.
Stop it. We've got a text through from Phil, who says, modern indignation.
Morning, Phil.
Some people write an angry letter to the Telegraph, others shoot people with assault rifles.
OK.
Thanks, Phil.
Listen, everyone's saying we should stand up to these terrorists and we should all tweet photos and print photos of, the Prophet Muhammad and all of these things. And,
some of those cartoons were actually hideous.
I just think... we should have the right to do that. But if it's going to annoy people to the point where they pick up guns, I'm not that bothered. Freedom of speech is a myth, by the way, anyway. And I know that Comrade Steve always phones up and says he's got freedom of speech. You certainly don't have freedom of speech on this station. You don't have freedom of speech on any phone-in station in this country. I'm going to say the world, although there'll probably be an exception. For example, you can't come on here and swear. So there's your first limit of speech.
Kelly.
And you can't come on and libel someone. So there are two massive limitations on your freedom of speech.
You get the freedom as long as you're willing to take the responsibility. And these days, people are being held responsible for the smallest things. What about that guy we were talking about yesterday who got fired from his job as a stockbroker for making an admittedly rubbish joke?
What was it, Mark Wynne, the local councillor, who said that food banks were used by the mentally ill and drug addicts. He then kind of tried to qualify that. Well, actually, his qualification didn't match what he'd said at all, but he kind of backtracked and suspended his Twitter account.
People start calling for your job these days if you offend them.
Yeah, there's the thing. All right, if we're all saying that Je suis Charlie or whatever, if we're all, saying these guys had the right to print that, then Mark Wynne had the right to say that he thinks food banks are for mental people. That fella had the right to make a joke about knocking a cyclist over. People have got the right to go on Twitter and say that black people are thick.
Everyone has the right to be offended.
Yes. Where do you draw the line? Because everyone is saying defending free speech. You will have a line at where that you will have a line where that free speech should end. Should it end in saying that black people are criminals? Is that the line? Should it end at we should all go out and beat up black people? Where everyone will have a line. don't know why I keep picking on black people, but everyone will have a line. So where is that? Hey, here's the thing, very quickly, before we do the travel. Where's it? I'm loving the Telegraph at the moment. It's a good old...
You've got more time to read in the morning.
I'll come in early now.
Yeah.
You'll deal with this. Are you producing tomorrow, Kelly?
Yeah.
I'll be in early.
Okay, cool. What time?
5 to 5.
Wonderful. I'll be in at 6.
Kelly, where do you leave your spare key?
I don't have a spare key.
What? You don't have a spare key at all?
No.
Do you not have a spare key with a friend or neighbour?
No, I don't have a spare key.
Well, how do you get in and out if you lose your key, as I did yesterday?
Everybody else in my house has a key.
OK, I like that, yeah, OK.
Next door neighbour's got a key, my mum's got a key, my mother-in-law's got a key.
Yeah.
I'm quite handy at breaking in as well.
I can't break in, we've got a new door and I can't break this door. I can break a Yale lock easily with a plastic bottle of water.
No,
I'm not saying how, but I can do it with a bottle of water. I can break a Yale lock. So watch it, kids. My mother-in-law, who lives around the corner, has got a spare key. But I was looking for some post that I'd left in a secret place. I'd asked them to leave it by the plant pot, right? So I moved the plant pot. I found a spare key under it. I thought it's not there now, burglars. So don't try it. But there was a spare.
Did you put it there?
No, my missus had put it there. A spare. I was furious. She put a spare key under the plant pot.
Here's a true story.
It's quite clever, though, actually.
You know, I've got friends who were in the SAS.
Yeah.
We went round to one of their mates' houses. No, we went round to one of their mates. They let each other into... There's no point locking your door against the SAS. Just let me tell you this. Especially when your mate knows where you keep the spare key. He had a pretend rock. Yeah, the fake rocks. But the fake rocks look like fake rocks. They look clean. This was a pretty good one.
Really?
Yeah.
I've seen the fake...
Probably MOD
Thousands
standards.
of families are burgled each year by thieves who found poorly hidden house keys, says the Daily Telegraph. Police figures show more than 6,000 burglaries last year involved intruders using keys.
You can't claim insurance on that, can you, if they let themselves in like that?
A third of the most common hiding places are under a plant pot, 19%, under a bin, 13%, under a rock, 13%, under a doormat, or under a garden gnome.
Do you know what we need?
Yep.
More treasure maps.
Oh, I love a treasure map. Stain it with tea to make it look old.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the M14 northbound, the Highways Agency have reported an accident between junction 4 for the High Wycombe Handycross roundabout and 5 for the A40 at Stokenchurch. Having a look at the speed sensors, and the A40 in High Wycombe, that's looking quite busy on London Road in both directions. Also in Bradenham on Wycombe Road, that's very heavy between Smaldene Lane at Bradenham and the A40 at High Wycombe. In Hemel Hempstead on the A41 southbound, it's very slow between the Two Waters Road and the M25 junction 20 for Kings Langley. And having a look at the cameras in Watford, Exchange Road is very busy around Beech and Grove. On the A1 southbound, it's very slow approaching the Black Cat roundabout through the roadworks there. And on the trains, if you're heading into London, there's minor delays on the London Overground and on the Piccadilly line. And East Coast are warning of possible delays this evening and tomorrow because of a storm forecast this evening in Scotland. So passengers heading that way today are advised to travel in the daytime today if possible, instead of tonight or tomorrow. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Samantha. 7:47, Thursday, the 8th of January. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Tesco is shutting its head office in Cheshunt next year and will move its... I'm struggling to say Cheshunt.
Cheshunt.
It's Cheshunt, because I'm going for the sh.
Yeah.
Cheshunt.
Yeah.
OK. Thank you. Tesco is shutting its head office in Cheshunt next year and will move its base to Welwyn Garden City. The company is also shutting 43 unprofitable stores. French police, hunting the gunmen who killed 12 people in yesterday's attack in Paris, say one of the 3 suspects has surrendered to officers. And routine surgery will continue to be cancelled at Bedford Hospital due to an unprecedented demand on the service. Coming up, what happened when Justin and I went for a walk through Luton holding hands? Before that, let's get the weather. Here's Georgina.
Beds, hearts and bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. Well, it's a mild start to the day. We've already just about reached our peak with the highs of 10 degrees Celsius. Those temperatures will drop off as we head through the afternoon. And this rain is gradually making its journey to the east. So we'll see the back of that around lunchtime, leaving us with some sunny spells for the afternoon. Now, the winds that we had through the night are gradually easing through the day, but they will pick up again tonight. We've got cloud increasing as ahead of this rain that's going to be coming in the early hours of the morning. That's fairly patchy, though, so nothing nothing too significant, and it does pass before daybreak because of the force of the wind behind it. Temperatures tonight down to about 5 degrees Celsius. And tomorrow, some sunny spells, still pretty breezy with some patchy rain in the afternoon. And we're entering a mild period then, so we've got temperatures up to 12 degrees Celsius, perhaps even above that more locally. Friday night, a wet, windy but mild night and a cloudy, drizzly start to Saturday. It does brighten up later on, but it's still going to be pretty blustery. And with some sunny spells on Sunday, but still a breezy day and wet and windy on Monday. That's your latest forecast.
Every weekday morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the JVS show. I'm Jonathan Vernon Smith.
Local opinions.
We think it's absolutely shocking that this young man should continue to have to be punished.
He hasn't even shown any remorse or said sorry.
Well, firstly, I have to disagree.
The JVS show.
Well, but we're not living in very optimistic times.
But it does seem very clear, doesn't it?
They're human beings. Some are good people, some are bad.
The JVS show on BBC Three Counties Radio. Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Here's a question. If you saw two fellas or two girls holding hands as they're walking down the street, how would you react? I wouldn't... I would probably register it, but that would be it. I was about to say, I wouldn't even notice.
I don't think you'd register the girls. I think there's a double standard.
No, I would register the girls. No, I would. I would, because actually I've spotted it, and a little ding has gone on my head. Knee-jerk reaction. It's almost impossible to control. You can't control it immediately. It takes years of training to control the knee-jerk reaction or to get past it. So, yes, I have spotted girls holding hands and gone ding, and the same with fellas. But that would be it. Well, yesterday we spoke to a 23-year-old man, Nick, who suffered a tirade of homophobic abuse on a train near Northwood Station. But while he was telling us that, he also told us what happens sometimes when he goes out holding his boyfriend's hand.
I was a little bit terrified, but I'm being a gay guy, I'm sort of used to this kind of happening with, around London, other places. I'm not used to it on the tube, but, it happens.
Because I go to London a lot, and I always thought that London was kind of, was very metropolitan, and, well, it's literally metropolitan, but also, very open to all different lifestyles. Do you get a lot of this in London, then?
Fairly. I think it's when I'm holding hands with another guy, if I'm kissing another guy, yes. I do get a lot of it if I'm doing those kind of things, not necessarily if I'm on my own.
No. So if you're walking down the street holding your boyfriend's hand, again, obviously, we probably can't use the exact language, what kind of things do people say to you?
Dirty bad boys, things like that. You look at these two. Look at those gays over there.
Look at those gays over there.
Who says that? They sound like children.
Another guy holding hands.
Look at those gays. Oh, look at those gays over there. Well, I was shocked. Wasn't completely. Well, I was a bit surprised, but not completely. But Catherine, you came up with an excellent idea yesterday, off the cuff. What was your idea?
Well, why don't we try it and see if it works, and see if you can experience what they experience? I mean,
so we did.
It wasn't a scientific experiment.
No, it wasn't scientific, and it was only for 10 minutes. Justin and I went to Luton, holding each other's hands, and literally we did it for about 12 minutes. If you want to see the video, facebook.com/BBC3CR. But this is what happened.
We've kind of walked about, 3 or 4 minutes?
Yeah.
And we've had looks. We've definitely had looks, haven't we?
We've had looks, and I saw a dad usher a child away from us. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, there was a dad walking with his kid, and he kind of he clocked the hands, clocked us, and come on, love, come with me.
Really? I didn't see that. And there was another person just up there. But they also said, look, they're holding hands. I could hear them. I could hear them say they're holding hands. I definitely heard that. Guys, can we ask you a 10-second question? That's all it is. Okay, we were holding hands walking down the road, and I think it was yourself, sir, and you said, okay, I just want to know why is that?
Because I don't agree.
We ain't got time to go into that right now.
Just give us 10 seconds of your time, sir. Say what? No, that's you're entitled to your own opinion, but why did you say
Because I thought it was disgusting.
Why did you think it was disgusting? No,
it was disgusting.
Just asking a question.
He doesn't agree, obviously, with homosexuality. He's got a stigma, he's a teenage boy, you know what I mean?
Do you agree with it? I mean, you saw us walking down the road as well.
I'm not against it, but I don't like it in my face, to be honest. It does make me feel a little bit embarrassed. If you two were to embrace in a kiss, I would feel a little bit awkward, but that's about as far as it would go. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I'd never have anything to do with you because you're gay. Do you know what I mean? I'm not narrow-minded in that way.
See what the perception is. We were just holding hands. How did that make you feel as you walked past us?
No, I was just like, oh, look at them two guys holding hands. Because, especially in Luton as well, you don't see that. Yeah. You wouldn't see that.
You weren't so keen. You thought it was disgusting.
Why in saying that, you've actually got your hands down your trousers right now. I'd say that was more disgusting, wouldn't you?
That's up to you.
Would you hold my hand now?
No.
I mean, I wouldn't particularly after it's been down there. I'm just saying.
No, not hold your hand.
What's wrong with just two people just showing that they love each other?
I just think it's wrong for two men. Yeah.
All right.
I think it's disgusting, in my opinion.
Gosh. 08459 455 555. That was literally, we were 12 minutes it took to get that, and it wasn't even that busy in Luton. Listening to that, Richard Lane from the lesbian, gay and bisexual charity Stonewall. Morning, Richard.
Good morning.
Am I naive to be shocked by this?
I think probably a lot of gay people across Britain wouldn't be shocked by it. I think it's an experience that a lot of people have, actually. It resonated with me as I grew up in Bedfordshire, and I remember having my very first date in Luton with a chap who tried to hold my hand, and I remember feeling back then very uncomfortable because I knew people were looking and staring and judging that. And that was I think a lot of people won't be shocked.
And that was the thing last night. That was the thing yesterday, which may not have come across there. We were getting lots of people looking at us. There were lots of staring, whereas if I'd been holding the hands of a girl, we would have been invisible. I just wondered what that feels like to, if you're out with someone who you're in love with, to be constantly looked at.
I think from a very young age, gay people learn to censor themselves, and people all the time will say that if they're in central London, perhaps in Soho, they will happily hold their partner's hand, but as soon as they get out of there, they stop and they make sure that they don't show anyone any affection. We see time and time again stories. I think there was another one yesterday. People thrown off public transport, people thrown out of taxis, simply for giving the person they love a kiss. And this is in 2015 in modern Britain, and it's a real shame.
Richard, I spoke to a guy last night who said that he will not take the chance. So he completely puts it out of his mind. Sometimes he feels like he would like to, but it's just something he would never consider doing because of what people might think. That's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's not just people worried about what people might think. 1 in 6 gay people have been a victim of a hate crime or incident in Britain in the last 3 years alone. That's people who are being viciously and violently attacked, often on the streets of our cities and towns. So it's not that they're just worried that people are judging them. People fear for their safety.
Richard, one final thing, just to clarify, if you wouldn't mind, because we put this on Facebook, and loads of people have seen it. Most have been really positive comments. There have been a few kind of lazy homophobic comments. And 1 or 2 people, Richard, have said that what we're doing is we are being patronising towards the gay community by having done this, and that it's kind of just a cheap shock tactics.
Now, people thought we were taking the mickey.
Yeah. Well, are we taking the mickey, Richard? Have we done a good thing or a bad thing?
No, I watched the film and I thought it didn't come across like that at all. I think actually it simply reflected what a lot of people experience on a daily basis. Good. And I think it's important to stress that this isn't an issue in Luton. This is an issue in towns, villages and cities all across the country that people experience.
The same bloke I was talking to last night said he was pleasantly surprised that only one person said anything.
But it was just after 10 minutes, that's the thing. I think if we'd gone out in the evening and we'd been out there for an hour, I suspect we would have got a lot more. Yeah. Richard, I really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Richard Lane from Stonewall. I just, because, I'm a straight middle-class guy, so it did, some of these accusations yesterday did concern me that maybe it was patronising or taking the mick. It wasn't coming from that place at all, but I just, wanted to clarify. It's go and have a look at the video. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. And if you've come across it as a gay or bisexual or lesbian or transgender or anything like that, let us know. Because it kind of breaks my heart. That's one of the great things about being in love, is walking along the street holding hands. Just holding hands. We weren't even, there's not even... I have problems with anybody snogging in the street, whatever their sexuality. I don't particularly approve of it. But holding hands, what a nice thing. And some people feel uncomfortable and that they're unable to do it. 08459 455 555. You can also text 81333. Start your text 3CR. Don't forget, from tomorrow, it's Friday tomorrow, we're having our first kind of open door policy. I haven't got a name for it yet. We'll come up with something clunky and awkward. Between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, if you want to turn up at the studio tomorrow and come and sit in the studio with me and have a chat, you're more than welcome to. If you've got kids, you've got elderly people, you can bring them as well. Don't bring pets. Please do not bring pets. I don't want pets.
Unless they're really cute, like little dogs or a kitten.
Oh, I mean, if you have to bring them, do, but, I mean, oh, blimey.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the M25 anti-clockwise, a lorry has broken down at junction 23 for the A1M, so that's partially blocking the exit Slip Road and causing queues now from junction 24 for Potters Bar. On the M40 northbound, the accident has now been cleared between junction 4 for the High Wycombe Handycross roundabout and 5 for Stokenchurch, but on the M1 southbound, there is an accident at junction 15 for Northampton, and between there and junction 14 for Milton Keynes, it's a lane blocked there because of that accident, so it's very slow. In Stevenage on the A602 westbound, it's looking very busy between the A1M junction 8 for Stevenage and Paynes Park, and in Watford, Exchange Road's looking very slow on the speed sensors. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 8 o'clock. I'm Simon Oxley. The headlines: Tesco to move Hertfordshire head office. Hunt continues for Paris gunmen. And still no routine surgery at Bedford Hospital.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Tesco is shutting its head office in Cheshunt in Hertfordshire next year and will move its base to Welwyn Garden City. The company is also shutting 43 unprofitable stores and will close its final salary pension scheme. Tesco has announced a 2.9% drop in sales in the 19 weeks to January the 3rd. Sales were down 0.3% over the 6-week Christmas period. Keith Slater is a retail expert.
I think they stopped listening to their customers some time ago. They got distracted by developing new things. They've developed strongly in America. They developed strongly in the Far East. And maybe they just took their eyes off the ball a little bit, which often happens with people who are the prime retailer in any particular sector.
Meanwhile, Marks & Spencer has reported a fall in sales of 5.8% in the 13 weeks to December the 27th. French police hunting the gunman who killed 12 people in yesterday's attack in Paris say one of the 3 suspects has surrendered to officers. The French Prime Minister says both remaining suspects had been known to the intelligence services. Here, the Home Secretary, Theresa May, will chair a meeting of the government's Emergency Cobra Committee this morning to discuss Britain's response to the attack. From Paris, Lucy Williamson.
The targets of this manhunt are now 2 brothers, Saeed and Sherif Kouachi, both French citizens in their early 30s. Police say another man, 18-year-old Hamid Mourad, has handed himself in, reportedly after seeing his name on social media. An operation in the eastern city of Reims overnight ended without any arrests.
Routine surgery will continue to be cancelled at Bedford Hospital due to an unprecedented demand on the service. Health bosses say the number of emergency admissions have increased by 25% since Christmas, particularly among the elderly. But Colette McKeveney from Age Concern in Luton says elderly people do need hospital treatment.
People are going to hospital for one reason, and that's because they're really ill. They're too ill to be nursed in the community, generally speaking, and that's why they're going. They're not going for fun. If they need to be in hospital, if they need to go to A&E, then, we need to make sure there's enough capacity to take care of them. 2
drug companies have attacked the decision by a government fund to stop providing some of their cancer treatments to new NHS patients. One of the companies, ASI, recently opened a new multi-million-pound manufacturing plant in Hatfield for a new cancer treatment. Hitchin singer James Bay has come second in the BBC's Sound of poll for 2015. He was first heard on BBC Introducing here on Three Counties Radio. The Sound of list was started in 2003 and has a history of predicting major new stars, including Sam Smith, Adele and Ellie Goulding. In sport, Luton resume League 2 action this evening with a televised match at home to fellow promotion hopeful Shrewsbury. New loan striker Jayden Stockley is set to make his debut, and Oldham are hoping to complete the signing of convicted rapist Ched Evans today, despite a backlash from some sponsors and a 60,000-strong petition. The weather: rain clearing this morning to leave sunny intervals and some scattered heavy showers. Dry this afternoon, a maximum temperature 10 degrees Celsius. And you can get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3counties.
keeps on calling me. Down the road is where I'll always be. Every stop I make a new friend. Can't stay for long, just turn around and I'm gone again. Maybe tomorrow I'll wanna settle down. Until tomorrow I'll just keep moving on. Down this road that never seems to end. When new adventure lies just around the bend. So if you wanna join me for a while, just grab your hat, come travel light, that's hobo style. Maybe tomorrow I'll wanna settle down. Until tomorrow, the whole world is my home. So if you wanna join me for a while, just grab your hat, come travel light, that's hobo style. Maybe tomorrow I'll wanna settle down. Until tomorrow, I'll just keep moving on. Maybe tomorrow I'll wanna settle down. Until tomorrow, I'll just keep moving on. There's a world that's waiting to unfold. A brand new tale no one has ever told. We've journeyed far, but you know it won't be long. We're almost there and we paid our fare with a hobo song. Maybe tomorrow I'll wanna settle down. Until tomorrow, I'll just keep moving on. So if you wanna join me for a while, just grab your hat, come travel light, that's hobo style. Maybe tomorrow I'll find what I call home. Until tomorrow, you know I'm free to roll.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Yes?
Got some texts.
Yeah, go on.
Phil says, when you get a member of the local Muslim community on to comment on what happened in Paris,
Not going to.
can you please ask them if they think the same would happen in this country if someone depicted an image of the Prophet? Phil, are you listening?
Yeah, Phil, we're not doing that. I just think I am so bored of leaders of the Muslim community coming out every time there's an atrocity, saying, "Well, just obviously we condemn." We know, don't we? We're intelligent enough to know that most Muslims disagree with what happened yesterday.
There's no point holding those people to account.
Nothing to do with them. You might as well get my mum on to speak. You might as well get a human being to speak about it. It's pointless. Anyway,
Talk about human beings.
hello.
Men holding hands.
Oh, yeah.
My heritage, says Nana, is African, where it's normal for brothers and friends to walk in town holding hands. But thanks to living in this country, that's seen as seedy.
Yeah.
And my sons will grow up thinking that with this knowledge and not be able to do this. When did holding hands become exclusively heterosexual?
Yeah, hey, that's a good line. Yeah, I like that.
I don't like people kissing or holding hands in public, gay or not gay. I'm far too conservative, and I vote Labour, says Tony.
Oh, wow. I like the holding hands in public. I don't like the kissing in public. I really, of any sexuality.
Oh, a peck's all right.
No, it really...
It's not. I mean, sometimes it gets to the point where you think...
You see a couple on a bench, and you want to go and give them 50 quid so they can go and rent a hotel room.
Yeah, but when I was a teenager, the bench was the only place it could be done.
Yeah, well, yeah, you were going out with Twitchy the Tramp, so that was...
And Mark the Trucker says Ian and Justin looked a little bit comfortable holding hands.
It was nice. He's a mate. It was nice.
There's nothing wrong with it.
He's a mate. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. Now, Tesco is set to announce it's cutting prices for hundreds of branded products. Follow similar cuts by Asda and Sainsbury's. The Hertfordshire-based supermarket group has seen falling profits, falling sales and accounting problems over the past year. Joined by John Ryan, stores editor of Retail Week, and he's a retail journalist. Morning, John.
Morning.
I've got some of the figures in front of me that have been announced.
Yeah.
The Tesco is going to close 43 stores.
Yeah.
Shelving plans to open a further 49 stores.
Yeah.
And, well, the figures aren't necessarily as bad as they were going to be. Let me read three numbers and then we can talk about them.
Sure.
Sales over the holiday period were down 0.3% on the year before, up 0.1%. UK. if fuel sales were included. Overall, comparable sales for the 3 months to the beginning of January were down 2.9%.
Yeah.
Is that as bad as we were expecting?
No, it's not actually. It's really quite positive compared to what many were saying, and I think it's a pleasant surprise in some ways. I mean, Dave Lewis, the new chief executive, who's been sort of parachuted in, was known in his previous place as Drastic Dave.
Yes, that's a great name.
Yeah, it's a great name for the way in which he goes ahead and does what needs to be done. And you know what? The first indications are, when you look at this, that he's making headway very quickly, and far more in a very short stewardship than his predecessor has done.
I'm looking at the BBC website, which is where I'm getting all of these figures from. They plan to make cuts of £250 million, considering closing its staff pension scheme. And it's getting rid of things like Tesco broadband and its online entertainment service Blinkbox. And that's one of the problems, isn't it, John? That it stopped selling. Well, it added more things than just fruit and veg. It started branching out too widely.
It lost sight of what it does best, or what it's there to do, and they thought they could be all things to all people. And of course, you can't, even if you're near to 30% of the total UK market, you still cannot be all things to all people, because there are experts doing things better than you will be able to, and therefore they've come a bit of a cropper, to be honest.
It does sound drastic, making cuts of £250 million.
Yes, but don't forget they overstated their profit figure by a sum not far off that.
Right.
And had a profit warning just a few weeks ago. So I think stuff needs to be done. Well, I don't think.
We know, yes.
We know. Mr. Lewis knows as well.
Can they turn this around, John? Because while Tesco have been sliding, Aldi and Lidl have really kind of... they've taken a hold with the middle classes, haven't they?
Well, that's what you'd like to think. Yes, they're doing okay. Yes, they're adding to their market share, but it's still a relatively small market share when you compare it to the big players.
Right.
The other thing that's perhaps worth noting is that today is the day in which Tesco launches wholesale price caps across all its stores in food. So they're obviously tackling that problem head on. In the same way, it's a price war, of course, but and the interesting question really, I suppose, is what sort of effect, if you're an investor, what sort of an effect is that going to have on margins? Because you can cut prices, get customers in, but ultimately you're there to make a profit for your shareholders.
John, fascinating stuff. Thank you very much indeed. John Ryan, retail journalist, stores editor of Retail Week.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
We've got an email. Iain, I've been listening most of the morning. I've become quite frustrated with the general feeling surrounding this whole Charlie Hebdo tragedy in France. I've been frustrated by the assumption that this is a Muslim problem. Excuse me, or a problem with Islam. Chris, your caller earlier called on right-minded and moderate Muslims to come forward and denounce these terrorists. But why should they have to? Did the church get called out to denounce David Koresh and the Branch Davidians and the subsequent brainwashing of Timothy McVeigh that led to the Oklahoma bombing? No. Did the church in America get called to denounce Jim Jones after he convinced 900 to consume cyanide and commit mass murder? The reason they didn't have to was because the twisted ideologies of these people was so far removed from the teachings of any church that these characters are quite rightly categorised as extremists. The actions of the men that murdered these journalists are so far removed from Islam that to wheel out local imams and community leaders is ridiculous. Don't give in to the clamour. Don't get them on the show. You don't need to. We're not going to. Never going to on a show that I kind of have a little bit of say in. And I assume you're the same, Catherine.
Absolutely. What purpose would it serve?
We get some local Muslim fella to come on and say, yeah, I'm a leader of Muslims, and boy, oh boy, do we denounce this. OK.
And also, the people who aren't happy with the number of Muslims standing up to denounce it aren't going to be happy with that guy's explanation either.
We've already had someone say they want them to be denounced as apostates, and it turns out that I've had a few people emailing that being an apostate in Islam is actually a bigger deal than perhaps I gave it credit for. But still, you're arguing over a word. They've said they're not Muslims. What more... You know,
there was a whole thing, wasn't there, on Twitter, not in my name, people taking pictures of themselves. They shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah, I do... We know that it's not like the fella living next door to you. We know it's not... We know that this is a complete twisted and false interpretation of Islam. But then I guess some people don't know that. Some people don't know that. 0845. But we won't be having anybody unless they phone up spontaneously and feel the great desire to come on and say that. We're certainly not going to book any local imams on this show to come on and say they denounce it, because do you know what? We kind of take it as read. What would be interesting is if a local imam called up and said, "Well, do you know what? I don't denounce it," but they won't do that. Won't do that because they. Oh dear, what a mess. What a mess. Isn't the world a strange place at the moment? 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. Have we got any texts,
Yeah,
Catherine?
we've got loads, and they're quite wordy. You know, if you're going to write a really long text, why not just give us a ring? John says, just heard your piece on men holding hands in public. Right after what you said about drawing pictures about the Prophet Muhammad.
Yep.
My question was this. If your position is that you should be allowed to hold hands in public in spite of the fact it might offend people, that's not a question, is it? You should be allowed to hold hands with who you want. Then why don't you think you should be able to draw pictures of the Prophet? Both acts essentially touch upon intolerance. In one case, intolerance of others drawing pictures of the Prophet, in another, intolerance of homosexuals.
I don't think that you should. I think you should be able to draw pictures of the Prophet. And I'm saying this as it comes, so it's a little bit ill thought out. If I was going to get shot for holding hands, I wouldn't hold hands. I kind of draw the line at taking a bullet for a belief, really. I think you should be able to draw pictures. Unfortunately, there are people... There's actually some really good arguments on Twitter for why those pictures should be published and why we shouldn't stand up to bullies. But I just know... why we should stand up to bullies. I know that if there was a bully with a gun in his hand, I would say whatever they wanted me to say to keep myself alive. That's what I'd do. Iain, stay there. I will come to you after this.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the M25 anti-clockwise, there's been a breakdown at junction 23 for the A1M. A lorry's broken down. It's partially blocking the exit slip road there, and it's causing queues for junction 24 for Potters Bar. On the M1 southbound, it's very slow between junction 14 for Milton Keynes and 15 for Northampton because of an accident. And on the A1M southbound, that's looking slow on the speed sensors between junction 8 for Hitchin and 7 for Stevenage. In Stevenage on the A602 towards the A1M, that's looking very slow between junction 8 for Hitchin and Paynes Park. And in Hertford on Gascoigne Way, that's looking slow on the speed sensors around 4th Street. On the trains, if you're heading into London, there are severe delays on the Piccadilly line and minor delays on the London Overground. Samantha Braff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Hey up, Sammy. 8:16, it's Thursday the 8th of January. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Tesco is shutting its head office in Cheshunt next year and will move its base to Welwyn Garden City. The company is also shutting 43 stores. The French Prime Minister says several people have been arrested as part of the search for two men wanted in connection with the murder of 12 people in Paris yesterday. And routine surgery will continue to be cancelled at Bedford Hospital due to an unprecedented demand on the service. 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
You'll be lucky if you think they're going to work. You'll be lucky. No, of course not.
Oh, they don't work.
No, of course not.
No headphones work at all.
Well, you'll get one of those working.
Oh,
don't know which one.
Let's try that.
You got it? Yep.
No, they don't work.
No, okay, there we go. Plugged in. Fantastic. Oh, they're not plugged in. Hang on a second. There we go. No, don't worry. Don't panic.
Okay.
No one's really paying any attention.
Ah, yes, that's better.
You okay?
Yeah, that's better
in?
now. Yeah, I mean,
locked and loaded.
I can hear the radio station.
Huh?
I can hear you.
It's my favourite joke of all. The second favourite joke.
Is it?
Yeah. My favourite joke is when, and I say it every time, and no one laughs. You know what my favourite joke is, don't you, Catherine?
Is it when you say February?
No. What?
You know when you say February, when you think it's you say that and you pronounce all the R's.
It's not a joke. That's called pronunciation. I'm pronouncing the word correctly. I'm pronouncing the R.
I've never heard anyone pronounce it like you do.
No one else speaks properly. No, my favourite joke is when someone says they've been doing something for a long time and I say, oh, you must be tired. I've been driving for 30 years. Oh, you must be tired. I've been the captain of a ship for 25 years. Oh, you must be tired.
Oh.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's a brilliant joke.
Thank you so much. That means so much.
It's good.
What's on your show today, boss?
Coming up on the Big Phone in this morning from 9, after the tragic events in Paris, should the press be more careful when discussing Islam? I know you've just been talking about this. The president of the Muslim Association of Great Britain has told the BBC that journalists should consider whether or not it's worth trying to make people laugh if you know you're going to hurt other people's feelings. His comments came hours after 12 people were killed in Paris when French satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo was targeted by gunmen shouting Islamic slogans. The magazine was firebombed back in 2011 after printing cartoons which depicted the Prophet Muhammad as part of its humorous take on news and current affairs. Iain Hislop, who edits British satirical magazine Private Eye, has called yesterday's killings a murderous attack on free speech in the heart of Europe. Well, from 9 this morning, I want to hear your thoughts on this. After the tragic events in Paris, should the press be more careful when discussing Islam? I'd love to hear your view. 08459 455 555.
Tonight, there's an extra three-county sport. We're with Luton as they host Shrewsbury in a top 6 clash.
Now Rooney with a shot that's going in. Luke Rooney left-footed, plants it into the bottom corner.
There'll be all the build-up, uninterrupted commentary and all the reaction at the final whistle.
I thought it was a terrific game, to be honest. I think it warmed the supporters up from both teams.
Luton versus Shrewsbury tonight from 7 here on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Yeah, let's be having you. I have, you saw what came for the post for me today, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'm going to be in dead trouble. My wife's going to kill me. I have bought, it's kind of a retro gaming console. I like my old video games, okay? I like my NES and me Mega Drives and me Game Boys and all of those stuff, right? This is a console that allows you to play all of those old games. It's got about 6 different cartridge slots for all different things, and you plug it into the telly.
But is this going to be like when I bought the Bagpuss video and the Monkey Magic videos, in that I shouldn't have gone back there because I remembered them as being better than they were?
No, I've always been... I had a massive retro gaming collection until we moved, and then I got rid of it. But now I don't need to have a massive collection because I can have it all on this machine. So, no, it'd be like you getting a record player.
OK, fair enough. I completely understand it.
I'll be sending you pictures of me dancing around in my pants.
Do? I didn't send you that picture.
No, that's how I imagined it.
Oh.
That's how I imagine a lot of the pictures you send me. But let's not go there. So that's what I'm going to be playing with. Oh, well, I haven't got any games yet.
Oh, well, I might have some. My mum's.
Hey, brilliant.
She doesn't chuck anything out.
Your mum's ace.
My bedroom is like a stockpile of all my stuff. It's like Time Team. If I go down about 4 layers, those Nintendo games will be there.
Yeah. Oh, have a little look. Isn't there a computer and game exchange in Luton?
Yeah, but I don't know whether they'll have that stuff.
They might have in a dark, distant corner.
Should we go and have a look?
Yeah, should we go and have a look afterwards?
Not that I want to come over and play.
And what time does... you can bash my buttons any time you want. And what time...
you'll moan about it. Boys don't like being beaten by button bashers.
You won't beat me?
I will.
What time does Andy's record store open? I think it's 10:30, maybe. I wasn't planning on sticking around.
Oh, actual Andy, not Andy's Records. I was going to say that.
Hang on.
That's from the olden days, isn't it?
No, yeah, the record store in Luton.
I think he goes Muso rules, doesn't he? Is he about 10 o'clock?
Flippin' heck.
Wonderful. Do you fancy a walk?
Fancy a little walk, yeah.
Let's go for a walk.
Fancy a walk and a fancy a Dixie's. No, I don't fancy a Dixie's because I'm losing weight. No Dixie's, that's out. Oh,
we'll find a healthy option. We'll find an avocado shop.
Have a falafel or something. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. Don't forget to go and have a look at the video of Justin and I walking through Luton holding hands. Facebook.com/BBC3CR, and we'll take some of your comments on that in a bit.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Routine surgery is continuing to be cancelled at Bedford Hospital due to what health bosses are calling an unprecedented demand on the service. The number of emergency admissions has increased by 25% since Christmas, with the majority being very frail, elderly patients over the age of 80. There's something wrong with that line. The number of emergency admissions has increased by 25% since Christmas. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But we'll pursue this anyway. Colette Marshall is the hospital's medical director. Good morning, Colette.
Hi there, Iain.
Colette, why do you think so many of your patients are over 80? Oh, post-Christmas. So it is post-Christmas, excuse me. Why are they so many of them over 80, do you think?
I think it's a reflection of our ageing population. We know that increasingly people are living longer. As they live longer, they accumulate a greater number of chronic diseases. And so the patients that we've seen coming up to the hospital have a very large number of diseases that they cope with on a day-to-day basis. And I don't know what it is about the end of December, beginning of January, whether there perhaps has been some kind of respiratory cold-type virus out there that has resulted in a lot of illness. But for whatever reason, this group of very elderly patients who are very frail with a lot of other illnesses have suddenly started presenting to our department in very large numbers. So it's not really known at the moment why that is.
When a story like this gets out, and I've tried to tread as carefully as I can around this today, we spoke to someone from Age Concern who's worried that elderly people are being used a little bit as a political football, that they're being portrayed as a waste of NHS resources.
No, I mean, that's not true at all. With the patients we've been seeing have been extremely sick and seriously unwell. I think the message that we've been trying to get out there is that because we've had such a significant pressure on our department, if you have any minor ailments, if you're younger or fitter, the best port of call probably is going to be your GP, because if you come up to our departments in the midst of all these other patients there, you're probably going to be waiting for longer than we would like. So we've been trying to divert patients who are more fit with just minor ailments to their GP.
Have you got is there any figure, Colette, on the percentage of people who turn up at A&E but don't actually need to be at A&E? Because I'm trying to think, the few times I've been there in the last couple of years, I don't remember seeing anybody who looked like they just had a paper cut or, looked like they were swinging the lead a bit.
I think those kind of patients are extremely rare,
Right.
and anecdotally we do hear of people, but in general people do have genuine problems.
Right.
What we do know is that about 10% of the patients that come here we can put into our out-of-hours GP service, which we have within our accident and emergency department in the evenings. So we know that 10% of patients that come here are suitable for GPs to see.
Okay.
But, they do have genuine problems. We're not accusing anyone of coming here and not actually being unwell in any way.
When do you think routine surgery can possibly start again?
I think we're predicting maybe Monday.
Okay.
It's probably unlikely to be tomorrow, but we'll be making that decision later on in the day today. So I reckon it might be Monday. We are still doing surgery. We're still doing the life and limb-threatening cases.
Yeah.
But anything that's routine, I'm afraid we've had to cancel.
Okay. Colette, I appreciate you coming on this morning. Thank you very much. Hopefully things will get back to normal as soon as possible. Colette Marshall, Bedford Hospital's medical director. Okay. We're going to go to a caller, but he's dropped out. Isn't it? He's dropped out. 08459 455 555. Hey, there's a cracking Twitter comes under a lot of fire, primarily because it's boy, oh boy. I was getting so much abuse. Yesterday, Catherine, from boxers on Twitter because of that plum. Was it Adam? Andy?
Adam, yes. Who misheard.
He misheard something and then went on Twitter and told everybody what he'd misheard. As
And
though
everyone
it was fact.
piled in.
Everyone literally piled in. I got all these boxers having a right old pop at me.
The irony being, we were saying if they were being accused of being aggressive.
Thick and aggressive. And you know what, guys? If that had been my argument, then you would have been backing it up perfectly well. And then they're all starting a hashtag get Iain sacked. Thanks, guys. Well, I wish you the best of luck in your careers. So thanks. I'm going to have to go to Paul after 12:30 because we'll go there in a minute. But Twitter can be used for the power of good. Yeah. Have you seen this story in the paper today about this fella? He's on a train.
Oh yeah.
And I've done this. You're on a not on a train.
Not on a train. I don't ever expect paper on there.
No, I did this in a Costa's where I went to the toilet and there was no toilet paper. And I tweeted humorously about it. In the end, I found a way around the scenario. Okay, I got.
When it happens at home, who do you shout? Because we have a shout. I cry for a minion, and one of the children come up with the toilet roll.
I have a waddle.
The Space Invader.
A waddle. I cut myself. Yeah. Anyway. This poor lad, Adam Greenwood, he's only 16. He coped with it in a remarkably mature way for a 16-year-old. A teen joked on Twitter he had no loo roll on a train toilet and had some delivered minutes later after the rail bosses read his message.
Well done.
Adam Greenwood, 16, told his followers he'd just had a reasonably large oh, dear, I'd seen that before.
He did the Twitter equivalent of, Mum!
Before realising there was no paper. Almost immediately, Virgin Trains tweeted back asking what carriage he was in.
Gosh, would you know?
A staff member on the London Euston to Glasgow service appeared outside the cubicle door soon after and handed over a roll. Adam said yesterday, I tweeted it for a laugh. Then I realised, there actually is no paper. I never expected any help. Thinking back, if I hadn't tweeted, I could have been in a very sticky situation.
Oh,
well done.
Right, too much.
Adam was on the... Can I just say, because there are some companies that get Twitter. Virgin Trains obviously get it.
Well, Virgin are savvy, aren't they?
Yeah. I've got to say, Pret a Manger get it as well. I joked something kind of humorously rude about them, and they responded using similar robust language. They got the joke, and they engaged in the joke.
Do you know what? I find that Twitter is the fastest way to get something done these days.
Totally.
Rather than ringing up and sitting on a helpline listening to Greensleeves.
I always tweet a complaint and someone comes back. And there are some companies that are very pompous about it, and there are some, like Virgin and like Pret a Manger and a couple of others...
NatWest are pretty good.
Yeah, that get it. They reply using the same language and the same joke, and they sort it out. Excellent stuff. 08459 455 555.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the M25 anti-clockwise, it's looking very slow between junction 24 for Potters Bar and 23 for the A1M after the breakdown earlier by the roundabout at junction 23. On the M1 southbound, it's very slow from junction 15 for Northampton to 14 for Milton Keynes after an accident. And on the M1 northbound, there are queues between junction 14 for Milton Keynes as well through that stretch. In High Wycombe on the Marlow Road, that's looking very busy on the speed sensors into High Wycombe. And in Hertford on the A414 westbound, looking at the cameras, that's very busy now between the Stansted Road at the Hertford turn-off and Ware Road. Having a look at the trains, and there are severe delays on the Piccadilly line if you're using that to get into London today. And East Coast are warning of possible delays this evening and tomorrow because of a storm in Scotland this evening. So passengers on East Coast services are advised to head north of Edinburgh today rather than tonight or tomorrow. Samantha Burrough, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 8:30. I'm Simon Oxley. Tesco is shutting its head office in Cheshunt in Hertfordshire next year and will move its base to Welwyn Garden City. The company is also shutting 43 stores and will close its final salary pension scheme. The French Prime Minister says several people have been arrested as part of the search for two men wanted in connection with the murder of 12 people in Paris yesterday. The suspects have been named as two brothers of Algerian origin who were known to the security services. And routine surgery could resume at Bedford Hospital next week following unprecedented demand on the service. Health bosses say the number of emergency admissions have increased by 25% since Christmas.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Luton resume League 2 action this evening at home to fellow promotion hopeful Shrewsbury. It's 5th versus 3rd at Kenilworth Road in front of the television cameras. Luton should welcome back Steve McNulty, Scott Griffiths and Nathan Doyle, who all missed the cup defeat at Cambridge, with new loan striker Jayden Stockley set to make his debut.
Very excited. I'm looking forward to the challenge of playing for such a big club. First and foremost is to help this team do well and continue their good form. And hopefully with that will come goals and good performances. And I've got family from Luton, so I know what a big club it is. They've obviously given me the prep talk before I come here that not to let them down. So that's something that I won't do, and I'll give my all for this club.
And there's full commentary on Luton versus Shrewsbury in tonight's Three Counties Sport from 7. Oldham could complete the signing of convicted rapist Ched Evans today, despite a backlash from some sponsors and a 60,000-strong petition. More from Ben Smith.
What we do know now is that the Oldham board have agreed they want to sign Ched Evans. We also know they've agreed a contract with the player. But what we also know is that Oldham are attempting to push this through despite huge public opposition and economic pressures. Last night, it emerged that Clive Efford, MP, Labour's shadow sports minister, had written to the FA urging them to block Evans's return to football. So while Oldham hope to wrap this deal up quickly, nothing can be taken for granted.
And Wycombe striker Aaron Holloway has signed an extension to his contract, keeping him at Adams Park until the end of the season. And Stuart Lewis has left the club to join Conference South side Ebbsfleet. BBC Three Counties News and Sports. The next full bulletin is at 9.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
So, remind us what we're talking about, Catherine.
Holding hands. Holding hands?
Yes.
And someone suggested that you and I hold hands.
Go on then.
I don't think anyone would. I mean, wouldn't be outrageous.
How would that work?
You know I'm not a man, don't you? Who was it that sent this through?
Because you've got very... the thing is, that would be unfair on me.
Why?
I'd have to do all the work.
Why?
I've got very short arms. So I would have to extend my arm more than is natural.
Or you could lift me up. What about that?
What else are we talking about?
I could go on your shoulders. Then I would be adult height. We're also talking about the reason why we've not asked someone to come on and from the Muslim community and distance themselves from the act in Paris.
No.
And we are also talking about the NHS, and Paul wants to talk to you about that.
Oh, morning, Paul.
Hi, Ian.
Paul, what have you got for us?
Well, firstly, I'm upset because you called me a dropout, so...
Yeah, yes, technically I meant I have no idea about your lifestyle, although we can make assumptions.
Yeah. On the NHS, one of the things which we haven't seemed to talk about, which is normally an annual thing, is staff illness, because, we all know people who've been sick and off work, and nothing's been talked about in terms of that side of things. We shouldn't be surprised when it's snowy and icy and everything. And then also with the flu jab, I was reading that the flu jab had 4 elements to it this year, and one of them's mutated already, so part of the flu jab is totally ineffective.
Well, the flu jab is only effective against that flu that you are being jabbed for. So if you get a cold, the flu jab won't stop that. And if you get a different strain of flu, well, I never quite understand the point of the flu jab.
That doctor we spoke to yesterday said the epidemic they've been expecting hasn't come.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
Yeah. And also, I have no idea. It'd be interesting to know, Paul, wouldn't it? How many members of hospital staff are off sick? I know my father-in-law is a doctor. He never gets ill. It's amazing. He never gets ill. And when he does,
exposure, isn't it?
I don't know, but when he does, he had a really bad cold recently. Just ploughs straight through it. It's really odd.
Well, and passes it on to everyone else. Thanks, Doc.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Doc. Do you have any idea how big the problem is with people being off sick, Paul?
I do know some nurses, and I do know that several of them have been off sick, and that's not through wanting to go to work either.
No. Well, I bet, they're working with people who've got the lurgy all the time, so...
Yeah, absolutely.
You would expect it. Paul, thank you very much indeed.
I've had a text on this
go
from
on.
T from Welling. Isn't it a coincidence that the hospital admissions have gone up while supermarket sales have plummeted? More shoppers going into hospital.
Sorry?
No, I think it's a joke. On a more serious note, I'm an A&E nurse, and I agree, some people do not need to be there. Part of it is lack of an emergency appointment at the GPs. As for me, the only way I can get an emergency appointment from a GP is if I tell them I'm a nurse, and that's wrong.
I would love to know, because we've heard all this stuff the last few days about how people are wasting A&E's time by turning up for things they don't need to. We haven't heard a figure, and without a figure, part of me is a little bit suspicious that people are being. I don't quite.
It's kind of pushing the responsibility onto the public, isn't it?
Yeah. Jane's on the line. Good morning, Jane.
Good morning, Ian.
What have you got for us?
I'm sorry if I sound like I'm shouting, but I've got the Bluetooth in the roof, so I have to raise my voice.
You've got Bluetooth in the roof?
Yeah, it's one of the new cars that's got the microphone in the roof.
It's better than... you sound better than those silly little earphones that people wear.
Oh, really? OK, that's good then. I'm phoning because I was just so angry listening to the lady called Colette. She works for the NHS at some...
Colette Marshall, the Bedford Hospital's medical director we spoke to about 20 minutes ago, yeah.
Has she got any idea how difficult it is to get an appointment at a GP surgery, especially for over 80s or disabled people? My mother is 81. And on a morning like this, she's got to go to surgery at 7:30 in the morning and line up outside until it opens just to get a damned appointment for the day. It just makes me so angry.
Do you know? I can tell, Jane. Do you know what? No. I'm pleased that you can vent your anger at us. Yeah, my surgery. If you want to get an emergency appointment, you have to phone up. But I've heard this more and more that there are places where you have to go and stand outside, and that does seem absolutely ridiculous, doesn't it? Oh, Jane, I suggest you get a new roof. The car has failed, but your point was made, and I think we got it. And it does seem incredible that you have to stand out. I have, for the kids, I've always been able to get an appointment on the day. Last time I needed an appointment on the day for me, I got one. I haven't always got one on the day. I use those the drop-in centres, where you might have to queue for a couple of hours, but generally they're OK. 08459 455 555. Matt's in Milton Keynes. Morning, Matt.
Morning.
What have you got for us?
Basically, all this thing about this, what happened in Paris yesterday. I just want to say there's been plenty of films out. Question one is, does anybody know what the prophet looks like? Question two is, anybody know what Jesus looks like? And the third point I want to make is, have you seen them films, Johnny English and Ali G in the House, etc.?
No, I try and only watch good films.
Okay, well, they take the mickey out of the Queen when she gets banged in the head and headbutted, etc. Nobody made an issue about that. If narrow-minded people are doing these things, why should the rest of the world pick up on it, and why should we have to suffer?
Well, yeah, the question as to why we should have to suffer, because it is a valid one, and obviously we shouldn't have to suffer. But there is no comparison between Christ, Muhammad, and the Queen. That's a silly comparison, isn't it, Matt? Because
it's a silly comparison. What I'm trying to say is, it's like people respect the Queen; they know what she looks like. If you understand me,
yeah.
Nobody knows what the prophet looked like. Nobody knows what Jesus looked like.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is that people don't know what it looked like, and people are making cartoons and drawing pictures of it.
Yeah, but people. There is a standardised image of Jesus. He's a white fella. He probably wasn't. He's a white fella with long hair and a beard. There is a standardised image of Muhammad. When you see those images, you know who they're supposed to represent. So whether we know what they actually look like or not is irrelevant, isn't it?
Yeah, it is irrelevant, but to narrow-minded people, it's not, is it?
Yeah, but you know, in Islam, you're not allowed to reproduce the image of the Prophet.
Yes, we know that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, let's say, for instance, like in England here, you had a debate about this woman from Luton who said she came on the radio, remember, and she wanted to be a jihadi. She didn't want to live in this country. Now, if people don't want to respect that faith, then leave the country then. Why did you come here in the first place and cause trouble for us?
I think she was born here.
Yeah, there's a lot of these people who were born here. They're British citizens.
Okay, if they're born here, they don't like it, we'll pack your bags and go home then.
Well,
go home. Yeah, they are home.
Yeah, where would home be?
Wherever they come from.
Well, they come from here. So where would home be?
Say, like, the Muslim countries, what they're talking about.
What's the Muslim country?
There's one, you get Algeria, Saudi Arabia...
But they don't come from there?
Well, that's why I thought she came from Pakistan, Afghanistan.
Yeah, but a lot of the people who don't like it here, they were born here. And listen, I agree. If you don't like a country that you live in, then perhaps you should go. But saying they should go home, well, this is their home.
Yeah, this is their home, but they shouldn't come and preach about they don't like it and they don't want to live here.
Freedom of speech. So yeah, you want to curb the freedom of speech. There are certain things about this country that I don't like, and I should be allowed to say I don't like them, shouldn't I?
Correct, yeah. Freedom of speech, but you should have freedom of speech but not bring religion into it.
Well, then that's not freedom of speech.
It is freedom of speech, because when you bring religion into it and you're practising to be a jihadi where you're hurting people, that's not freedom of speech.
But the practising, the becoming a jihadi is not part of that religion.
Well, that's how it came across to everyone who was listening to radio that day, I think. All of us in work thought that. Well,
all who thought that, sorry, Matt?
Where we work, we all thought that.
Well, that is probably your problem, but not theirs, because that is, and I can use this word legitimately, that's a bastardisation of Islam. That's not real Islam.
That's correct. This is what I'm trying to say.
No, but that's what I'm saying, and then you're saying that you didn't realise that.
No, we did not realise that. You've just made it clear to us.
Excellent, Matt. Well, I'm glad to be of service.
I think we did make it clear, because we played that clip and then we had loads of people talking about it.
If we hadn't made it clear then, we've made it clear now, and Matt will go to work and he will tell all of the people at work that they were wrong, and then that's fine. Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
That's that sorted then.
I'm glad we've sorted that out. Billy Crush!
Hello there.
Hello, Billy! Lee, the mystery of Abbots Langley grows stronger every time. We've not heard of you from ages. How you doing, fella?
Oh, yes, I'm lucky. I'm very good. Very good. Thank you very much. 94, as you know.
Yes, you sound younger every time we speak.
Oh, well, there we are.
What is there a picture in your attic of a very old William Crush?
Oh, yes.
Yes, I thought there might be. What you got for us, Bill?
Well, I keep on hearing on the telly and the wireless about this
you forgot.
national health business,
Service,
you know.
the NHB, yes.
I must again commend how I was impressed with the service I got from Watford General Hospital when I went there. I know it was a year ago, but I feel I must sort of mention it again. The Winehouse surgery, I went for a vascular check, just check it up again. And in I went to, they said my blood pressure was low, my heartbeat was very low. Ambulance came straight to Watford Hospital.
Did they manage to save your life, Billy?
Pardon?
Did they manage to save your life?
Oh, well, yeah, it was perfect.
Beautiful.
And, well, yes, the ambulances pass by my door every day, but it was my turn then, and the ambulance came within, quarter of an hour, I suppose, and off I went to Watford General, oxygen mask and all that.
And Billy, I have to agree. All of my, I've had far too many dealings with the NHS in the last 3 or 4 years, and all of them, most of them have been excellent. Most of them have been excellent. They do a cracking job, don't they, Bill?
Well, I should think they do. And these people, you see, from all over the world,
Here we go.
who look after you now, without them, I don't know what we would do.
Exactly. Billy, thank you very much indeed. Always a pleasure.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the M25, there was a breakdown earlier at junction 24 for Potters Bar, between junction 24 for Potters Bar and 23 for the A1M. It's still very slow through that stretch. And also clockwise, it was briefly stopped while some debris was cleared from the road between junction 25 for Enfield and 26 for Waltham Abbey. And all the lanes have been reopened, but it's looking very slow through there at the moment. On the M1 southbound, there are queues from junction 16 for Daventry to junction 14 for Milton Keynes after an accident earlier. And on the A1M southbound, that's looking very slow on the speed sensors between junction 8 for Hitchin and 7 for Stevenage. Having a look at the cameras on the A1 southbound around the Black Cat roundabout, that's looking quite busy at the moment. And in Waddesdon on the A41 eastbound, it's very slow between Warmstone Lane and Dickens Way at the Cotton Wheel roundabout in Aylesbury. And having a look at the trains, if you're heading into London, there's minor delays on the Piccadilly line and East Coast. A warning of possible delays this evening and tomorrow because of a storm in Scotland. So passengers heading north of Edinburgh are advised to travel today instead of tonight or tomorrow. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Sammy. 8:46, it's Thursday the 8th of January. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Tesco is shutting its head office in Cheshunt next year and will move its base to Welwyn Garden City. The company is also shutting 43 stores. The French Prime Minister says several people have been arrested as part of the search for 2 men wanted in connection with the murder of 12 people in Paris yesterday. And routine surgery could resume at Bedford Hospital next week following unprecedented demand on the service. Coming up, we'll take some of your calls and texts, but before that, let's get the weather with Georgina.
Beds, hearts and bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, and a mild morning it is as well as our temperatures peak for the day at about 10-11 degrees. By this afternoon we're closer to 7 or 8 degrees as they start to drift down. The rain that we've got at the moment is going to be clearing to the east by about lunchtime, and then we'll be left with some sunny spells in the afternoon. And the winds from last night ease through the day but pick up again tonight, so quite a blustery night ahead of us. We've got rain coming through again but moving quite quickly with the force of the wind in the early hours, so we shouldn't see that better tomorrow morning. Temperatures down to 5 degrees Celsius. And tomorrow we start off with some sunny spells. It's still quite a windy day with some patchy rain in the afternoon and cloud in between. Temperatures up to 12 degrees Celsius. They're very mild indeed. We may even get above that more locally. So it's a windy, wet but mild night on Friday night. A cloudy, drizzly start to Saturday, brightening up later on, but still pretty blustery. Sunday we've got some sunny spells along with that breeze, and then a wet and windy Monday. That's your latest forecast.
Did you know you can get in touch with BBC Three Counties Radio wherever you are?
Via Twitter at BBC3CR.
Join us on Facebook, facebook.com/BBC3CR.
Call us on 08459 455 555. Or text us on 81333 and start your message with 3CR.
Local and vocal across Beds, Herts and Bucks. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Just to say that there a couple of people have alerted this to me on Twitter. There is, and I've just checked, and there is another shooting in Paris.
No.
Yeah, just Stephen Pearce has just told me that he's watching the news channel, and then I read about this about 15 minutes ago, and I couldn't find anything. But BBC Breaking News is saying there's a shooting south of Paris with one police officer injured. Police say no known link to Charlie Hebdo. So we shall have an update on that as the day progresses, and let's see what happens. Right, 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. Justin, I forgot we sent you out on this. Hang on, what are you doing in here?
Well, my Woody is not working.
OK, that's a shame.
The battery on the Woody's not quite working. Well, no, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. I shall put that in the hands of our engineer.
Excellent.
And I'm hoping by Christmas 2015 it might be fixed.
Those words came from Justin Dealey.
I'm joking.
I've got to be careful because Mr. Travers, who does do an excellent job, comes in for a lot of stick but does a cracking job. He got called in 2 days in a row on his Christmas holiday because some idiot spilt honey and lemon all over the desk.
It's the sugar.
Sorry, cough. I need some of that honey and lemon.
Yeah, it was.
Can I come and stock your desk?
I owe Mark Travers a bottle of something nice.
Radio Anoraks will love this one, but you could get a bottle of water, pour it into that desk, and there will be absolutely no problems at all. But
let's try it,
it's the sugar. It's the sugar
contamination
which messes up the desk.
Yep.
It's facts, not fiction.
Okay, I don't think you could pour water in here.
No, you could.
Ask him. The wires.
Get Mark Travers down tomorrow for Travers Corner and ask him the questions that people want the answers to.
I owe Mark a sincere apology for getting him in 2 days in a row on his holiday, and a big thank you. So thank you, Mark, and there will be a little something in your pigeonhole at some point. Now, listen, we sent you out on this, and I completely forgotten. It's an advert advertising a taxi company, and it's caused a furore.
Yeah, page 21 of the Daily Mail. Taxi ad driving women crazy. How can I put this? It's a picture of a larger lady, and it's encouraging men not to drink drive. So it says, if I start to look sexy, book a taxi.
Yeah.
And a picture of this lady kind of licking her finger.
She's a big girl, and she's licking her finger provocatively.
It's a bit much. So what we need is a bit of this. All the ladies in the house. The ladies.
The Ladies' Perspective with Iain Lee across Beds, Herts and Bucks.
The ladies. So, Tina, you've seen that advert in the Daily Mail there. How can I put this? A larger lady. If I start to look sexy, book a taxi. What do you think about that? Is that fattest or is that funny?
It's very sizist, it's very offensive. It is not funny.
Not in the slightest?
No.
I mean, looking at that now, your face has completely turned. You're actually quite angry about this.
It's very offensive to larger ladies. And this is what's wrong. They're wondering why you've got so many girls that are anorexic, bulimic. That's the sort of thing that drives them to it. Because they feel that if they're larger, they're worthless. And that is promoting that image.
Very interesting. Tina, thank you very much.
OK, you're welcome.
What do you think about this advert? You're seeing it there. As a lady, are you unhappy about that?
Yes, I am. It's basically saying that if she's starting to look sexy after a few drinks, get yourself a taxi. It's not very nice, is it? Why does someone have to look sexy after a few drinks?
So you don't find it funny in the slightest?
No.
And you're not large, are you, either?
No, I'm not large, no. And I don't find it funny. I think it's rude. I do think it's rude.
I think if you're offended by it, you need to look at yourself, but it's not the nicest of things.
Yeah.
I mean, are they going to do one with an ugly man?
Well, they did do one with an ugly man.
They did. That man, by the way, was a 1970s man dressed in disco clothes.
Yeah.
So very much like the village people.
The thing is, right, and I'm going to draw a comparison with Charlie Hebdo. I'm going to a little bit, because I think there is a comparison with what happened yesterday, in as much as... People will think this is being flippant, I don't care. In as much as we're talking about freedom of speech, we're talking about the right to print stuff, even if it's offensive.
Yeah.
Well, the taxi company have the right to print that poster. This is what we're arguing about Charlie Hebdo. They had the right to print those pictures without reprisals.
And people have the right to be offended.
There you go. Yep, there you go.
I think
you also have the right to choose not to use those taxis if you're that bothered.
Exactly my point. I was going to say that they're taking a risk with an advert like this, because that is, for me, looking at that this morning, that is a highly offensive advert. And I think if I was a lady using those taxi companies, I probably wouldn't use them again. Just my personal view.
Were you listening to the show earlier on?
About 7:25, when a certain biggers came and went, "Hello, me old China. Yeah, well, what's Dealey been up to? He's doing no work." I was absolutely furious, to be honest with you.
Wow, you genuinely are.
Yeah, probably the hardest working man here. And I get people like that on the phone.
Biggers claimed that he drove past Three Counties Radio and saw you outside in the blind spot so we couldn't see you on the cameras, having a cheeky growler.
Yep. I smoke. What's the beef?
Well, say hello to Biggers.
Hello, Biggers.
Hello, mate. How you doing, old China?
All right, son. How's it going, geezer?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, fella. Where is he? Where's the dealie?
I'm here, Biggers. I'm talking to you right
mate,
now.
Hold on, I've just got to do this for Iain for you. Right, and I've just put my fingers up, all right?
Biggers, I heard your comments.
Put your fingers up.
I heard your comments earlier on. You being a Hemel man, you should be backing me up. I am the hardest working man at this radio station. Deal with it, all right, Biggers?
I'll tell you what, mate. It's what it was is it was the timing. As soon as I drove, I mean, you know what the car park's like at the back and the road down the side.
Yeah.
There's only like 2 or 3 seconds you can drive past at a reasonable speed and see what's happening in the car park. Right. As soon as I drove past, you were lighting one up.
A, what's wrong with that? A, what's wrong with that? And B, why are you stalking me, Biggers?
I'm not stalking you, mate.
Sounds like you are.
I see you out and about. I drive a lot, you see, so I see you out and about a lot, mate.
It does, well, yeah, it does sound a little bit like stalking, Biggers.
Well, he's a handsome fellow, isn't he?
Here we go. Here we go.
I bet the ladies love him, don't they?
Yeah, well, yeah. So, Biggers, listen, can we end this peacefully? Because I don't want any beef between...
No problem. No problem,
shake hands.
Right, they're shaking. They're going up and down.
Biggers, it's gone. Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
Cheers,
Thank you, Biggers. Oh. There we go. I'm glad for that. No beef?
Yeah, no beef now. Right. We can move on.
Can we move on?
Yeah, we can.
Get out of my studio.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Out.
Take care. Happy New Year.
Oh, you're such a... I nearly swore then. Isn't he? No, he really is.
Do you want to see my text?
Oh, yeah, go on. Yeah, sorry, I forgot you got loads of texts. Let's do those.
Jonathan St Albans, this is on the subject of you and Justin holding hands through the streets of Luton.
Oh, yeah.
Jonathan St Albans, I was chatting with someone yesterday about people who fall asleep on your shoulders on the train. No one ever wakes them up. You just sit there looking uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
I don't like overhang at all.
No.
Especially if it's unconscious overhang.
I'll play leg wars. Oh, I've indulged in leg wars on the tube. When you sit down and some fella's got his legs wide open, so his everything's on display, and he's taken up my space.
Is it New York where they've put signs up to stop that spreading?
Because I don't want to look at that, but also
I don't want to be caught in the middle of it.
Close your leg. So I'll give him a push.
It's when they do that, and then they get the big paper out.
I had a fella. I had to. I went. You know, I'm going for a steam. Okay, and where I go for a steam. There's only there's one shower for this little bit. So there's one shower. Okay, and there was a fella.
What, you all in together like games at school?
No. It's just like one shower cubicle for the steam bit. Not many people use it. And as I was waiting to go in for the steam, there was this fella. He was a very odd colour. Okay, and he was very strange. No, it was similar. And he was mixing up a paste in a bowl in this tiny little changing room, right?
Oh.
And he started saying something to me, and I don't know what he said. I wasn't really interested. And he was mixing up this paste. And then he started applying it to his face.
Face pack.
Well, no, it was a paint, right? So I went and had the steam, and I came back, and he's in the shower. Right, OK, all right, fine, I'll wait. So you could see I was there because it was an opaque shower door. And he's in this shower, right? And the shower's on a timer, so you get 4 minutes, then it stops. Mm-hmm. So the 4 minutes goes and it stops. And then he stood in the shower cubicle without the shower, applying this paste all over his body.
Oh.
So I don't know if it was like a tan or I don't know what it was. Right, and I'm there. I'm there for 9 minutes, right? I'm thinking, I've got to.
Did you cough? Did you go?
I did the cough, and he knows I'm there. He can see me, and I went, "Sorry, boss, are you going to be much longer?" And he stared at me through the opaque doorway, didn't move, stared at me, then slowly started applying the paste, and then put the shower on again.
Oh.
It was weird. It was a weird, tense thing. I felt
You don't want an angry tan.
No. I went in the shower. I was only in the shower for 45 seconds. In and out. I just wanted to get the sweat off my naked body.
We know.
Any other texts
Yeah,
before
Paul
we go?
and Milton Keynes. If we stop expressing our freedom due to an act of terror, then they have won. That's Paul and Milton Keynes. And this one, I think, which is a good one to end on. Alia in Toddington says, "Yoo-hoo, I'm a moderate Muslim. I condemn the attacks in Paris." Satisfied?
Everybody happy now, guys.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the M25 anti-clockwise, there was an accident earlier just before junction 24 for Potter's Barn. That's causing it to be very slow from junction 23 for South Minns, although that's looking like it's easing off at the moment. Also, clockwise, it was looking very slow from junction 26 for Abbey to 25 for Enfield, but that's looking like it's getting a lot better now. On the M1 southbound, there was an accident just before junction 14 for Milton Keynes, and that's causing queues still from junction 16 for Daventry. In Waddesdon, on the speed sensors, the A41 eastbound is very slow between the Warmston Lane and the Cotton Wheel roundabout, and in Aylesbury on Friar Ridge Road it's looking very slow between the Oxford Road roundabout and the Walton Street roundabout. Samantha Braff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Samantha. Don't forget a couple of new things tomorrow, Vinyl Friday, so all the music you hear will come from records. I'm looking forward to that. And between 7:30 and 8, if you turn up at BBC Three Counties Radio, Hastings Street, Luton, you can come in and sit in the studio and be part of the show. Not quite sure what that means or what that will entail. It'll just be us having a chat, really. Is anybody going to turn up? We'll find out tomorrow. Thank you, Catherine, Justin and Kelly. Until tomorrow at 6 from us. Ta-ta.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Iain. Good morning. Welcome to the JVS show. I'm Jonathan Vernon-Smith. It's Thursday. It's 9 o'clock. And on today's Big Phone-In, after the tragic events in Paris, should the press be more careful?